So, good afternoon. I hope you all have nice lunch. So we'll go ahead and start with medical education. We'll invite our NMC member, Dr. Suryanarayan sir. We've been communicating him. He's very graceful and taking his own time in the middle of the week and come and address us. Sir Suryanarayan sir, please come. And also I'll ask Dr. Minu Bajpai to come to the stage. And he's our he's HOD of the Pediatric Surgery AIMS New Delhi, and also the executive member of the DNB National Board of Examinations. And also, because this is medical education, we like to represent a student, which we talked about. Subham is helpful for me last 2 years. Subham Anand is a fourth year, final year medical student. Please, Subham. Sir, I also ask Dr. Srinivas sir, he's a family medicine Apollo director, and he's passionate about family medicine. Of course, they have a meeting coming up in a couple of months in Hyderabad. And so Anupama, you want to be here? Please, our President Anupama. So I want to make sure that she's not busy with other. Please come on, Dayas. Sir Ravi Kohli, President-elect, please come and take the dais chair. And Dwarkanath Reddy garu, please come in. You're okay, comfortable? Okay, we'll go ahead and start first presentation without any delay. Dr. Suryanarayan garu will give our first presentation. Then we'll have Dr. Bajpai will talk. And then it's a panel discussion. Please feel to ask questions. This is a very informal, friendly, and they like to hear from you so that they will take to the board. It's our request. So it's a casual manner. Thank you so much, sir. Dr. Suryanarayan, the stage is yours, sir. Thank you. Arun, please come and have a seat there. He's our James.
Good afternoon, sir. At the outset, I thank the American Association of Physicians of Indian origin for taking this initiative to continue interactive sessions and also continuing medical education programs in different areas every time with different concepts to bridge the scientific knowledge between our country and American practices. It is very, very important for change of concepts, exchange of knowledge, scientific research products, and also inspiring the youngsters who have been entered into the medical field to show them what is future, what is good, how to take it forward. In this initiative, I thank the executives and members of API for giving me this opportunity. And also it is my duty to bring it to the notice of the audience, what is going on, what are the reforms we are planning in India. All of you are aware, ours is a big democratic country, thickly populated, diversified geographical distribution, and practices vary from place to place, and also big gap between urban and rural. Keeping everything in mind, Government of India has taken a decision and created National Medical Commission. National Medical Commission, the main objectives are quality of medical education and also producing highly qualified talent, universal health care with equitable distribution, and medical research should be part of the practices. How do you do that? The colleges should be first streamlined. The education system should be streamlined. The institutions should be stabilized. For that, we need to rate the colleges and institutions based on their infrastructural facilities, teaching facilities, faculty, and also research ability. And also to see the maintenance of registers, to not only registering the practicing doctors, and also to see ethical standards. What we find in that is, we need to have unique ID for doctors as a part of registration. Not only that, it is very important in this country to have the follow-up and also tracking of the medical faculty. These are the important aspects in streamlining the educational system. National Medical Commission has a specific objectives and the functions. It is headed by a chairman and 4 autonomous boards. Autonomous boards, they act independently with their own structure, with a president and members. There is an undergraduate medical education board which create course curriculum, examination system, internship, foreign medical graduates examination, and also conduct exit examination. Exit examination is very important to have uniform standards and also for entry into postgraduate courses. Postgraduate Medical Education Board will have once again course curriculum, nomenclature of the courses, and importance and requirement of the postgraduate courses, and also some geographical areas, some special courses or training programs to be adopted, and also the super specialty courses. Then other board is assessment and rating. Rating, I told you, to make uniform educational system amongst the institutions and also to rate them depends on their infrastructure and also the education. Ethics and medical registration also play a vital role to recognize. One is recognition, registration, ethical practices, and also tracking of the practitioners and the teachers. In this first 1 year of National Medical Commission, the policy was to make more medical graduates available to the society. And the target was to make 100,000 doctors to be produced every year. Initially, it was thought that it was around 84,000 doctors were available. For that, probably we had to, gap was about 16,000, and thought that it may take long time. Due to pandemic, we have difficult challenges and also face a lot of problems while doing assessment of the colleges. But we have taken like a challenge, and then also we assessed a lot of colleges with 81 applicants were there, and also another 60 applicants for increase of seats. We have assessed and also approved 47 new colleges. Amongst them, about 28 colleges were in private and 19 colleges were in government. 28 in government and 19 were in private. Total now, we have 594 colleges. The number of seats increased in this academic year are about 7,715. And these are the new seats, MBBS seats are created in this academic year. The new colleges are for 5,900 and old colleges increase of seats are around 1,815. When it comes to the postgraduate seats, actually we have targeted at least 2/3 of the UG seats. That means we targeted around 6,000 UG seats. But unfortunately, due to pandemic, institutions suffered a lot and there were no patients, no faculties, and we could not do much. And we could give only about 3,284 broad specialties and 292 super specialty courses. Right now, this year, we have about 595 colleges in the country. 292 super specialty seats increased in this academic year. So what are the current challenges we are facing? What are the main objectives? Main objectives are the doctors should be distributed across the country and uniformly, and the difference and whatever the discrepancy between urban and rural to be minimized. That is the main objective for that. For that, actually, Government of India has taken a bold step of making all district hospitals as a teaching institutions. For that, it has allocated a lot of funding and also allowing state governments to convert the district hospitals into teaching and also a medical college hospitals. With that, several states have taken initiative and taking the help of the financial help from the central government converted, and it is going to happen and going across the country by making district hospitals as teaching hospitals. In some of the areas, we are actually directing that medical colleges, both private and government, to put their postgraduates into the district hospitals, because district hospitals have a lot of clinical materials for them to learn. So that they can learn a lot of things, and also the clinical material, by rotation, they work for 3 months or 6 months in district hospitals. They learn, and also their experience and also whatever knowledge they gained, they can avail that and extend to the rural population. This is the main objective. Other challenges are fee structure. What is the optimum fees the colleges can demand for it? Whether such practices are practicable or not. What are the deemed universities? What are the government colleges? What are the central institutions? How are the private colleges? Private colleges of different areas and different number of seats. These are the other areas we are working on, and probably it is a continuous process. At the moment, we have made the curriculum for 54 months and also 1 year compulsory rotation internship. And also we have changed the pattern of examination. There will be an exit examination. For that, probably there is a separate system we are going to adopt. We have National Board of Examination, which is actually highly professional and helping us in conducting the examination. But also we have different thoughts. Both National Medical Commission as well as the National Board of Examination working in tandem and also taking responsibilities in improving the medical education system in this country. Distribution of colleges and district hospitals, I have mentioned just now. There is a major problem. You need to know that the distribution of colleges are not uniform across the country. There are places, there are states, there are union territories who are having more medical colleges in some areas more than required. We don't know how are they getting clinical material to teach the students. That is called crowding of colleges. You will be surprised to see that there are districts who are having one medical college for 1 lakh population. Is that viable? Do they get clinical material? How do they get students? And all these questions are unanswered. But it is a responsibility to do something to make it uniform across the country. It is not a small issue. Established college, nobody can stop that. And how do they get students? How do they get patients is an important point. Everybody has to apply and take it forward. And emergency medicine department made it as a mandatory for every medical college to start with. The minute they apply for a permission to start the medical college, they should have one emergency medicine department. Previously, we used to call them as casualty. Now it is an emergency medicine department. The department initially will be established and then will be there with the 30 beds. And in due course, it should be a teaching and also should have postgraduates in that. And also we have discussions and deliberations to make some more specialties as a mandatory departments and also specialties in medical colleges. Unique ID for practicing and also faculty is very important due to practical reasons. Increase of PG seats is another important step we are going to take, because the graduates who are having MBBS, they also should be given equal opportunity to do post-graduation, depends on their interest and also the for future practices. Foreign medical graduates from Indian origin, the students who passed out 12th standard, due to non-availability of seats to meet their interests, many of them are going abroad and joining in neighboring countries like either Nepal, China, Russia, and several countries. And also they are coming back with the degrees, and normally happening around 25,000 to 30,000 students are going abroad every year. And when they come back, what we noticed is in some countries there are difference of teaching between their native doctors and the foreign graduates there. The teaching is different and also standards are different. And when they come back, many of them are unable to cope up, are unable to clear the probably the examination to register in this country. It is a big issue. What will they do? What is their future course and how to protect them? All these things are important. If you see this graph, it's not more than 10 to 15% clear the examination based on their training in foreign countries. And this next academic year, 1 year, we suffered due to COVID, and next year again we have called for applications. We have received nearly about 125 applications for the next year, and also several postgraduate applications. And we have to see how this third wave permit us to take it forward. All these challenges we have, and probably we have to be careful in taking the measures and also to maintain the standards and how to integrate research into the practice. These are the challenges we have. And infrastructure, technology and knowledge, there is no doubt everything is easily available. But when it comes to the practices, it is a challenge for everyone. And with this motto, probably Government of India and National Medical Commission also doing exercise and also a lot of discussions with the technical as well as inputs from different specialists to make it more optimum to meet the needs. Finally, we have to meet the needs of the public and the society. So I once again thank API for giving me this opportunity to share about the medical educational system, and also the thoughts, ideas and objectives are in front of us. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. I would like to ask Dr. Minu Bajpai, sir, to address a few minutes of his talk. I think we interrupted last time, so hopefully we'll have more time.
Thank you, Dr. Suryanarayan, Dr. Lokesh, dignitaries on the diet, friends. In the introductory component of our presentation today, I had briefly touched some of the aspects, but it is a dedicated session for medical education, so please pardon me for some repetitions. So since we want to use this platform and the efforts made by API to see that what changes can be made, how we can bring about incremental advantages to the current scenario in medical education, what are the bottlenecks, what measures can we take to open it up? And with this whole house and with the questions coming to and fro, I think we should try to address more practical aspects of it and see the difficulties and challenges. In brief, National Board of Education and Medical Sciences began in 1975 primarily to conduct examination, to improve the evaluation system. How do we make curricula? How do we sort of frame questions and then check the copies and then dissipate the results? So all this was refined. It's a huge task. If you now see that we are producing about 15,000 postgraduates every year, conducting exams throughout the country, which we did even in pandemic, and we all face the difficulties. Now, this is all what is the grassroots level work which round the year the National Board keeps on conducting. We also have the mandate to do accreditation of the hospitals. So we look at their eligibility criteria, which essentially involves the number of beds which are there vis-a-vis the type of specialties which can be started there, along with other facilities which are required for proper postgraduate courses, including laboratories, etc. That challenge, so I'll take it one by one, although, as I said, I may have said some of the things in the early morning itself. So the things, in short, that we faced was that we were often going and discrediting the hospital because sometimes they were not able to meet the number of beds required to meet that eligibility criteria, which led to a lot of attrition rate. People had some intention, they started a hospital, they wanted accreditation, and then we found there was some corners which were shrunk and they were left out of the education. So we were able to get less postgraduate training output than we could. So standalone hospitals were falling short. They had sufficient material, but not meeting the eligibility criteria. So the first thing which we have done is, in recent time, in terms of innovation, is to club some hospitals like this together so that that part can be complemented. One and the other can complement each other. So the number of beds can be taken care of. Number two is that often we find we need full-timers. The full-timers are often not available in hospital, and the result of that, the eligibility criteria of the hospital falls short. But there are many doctors who come on a regular basis to a private hospital. They do good clinical work. This is a good clinical material, but they are not able to meet the eligibility criteria. We want to club that also together. So man hours word will be replacing the full-timer word, so that man hours being contributed to the credit point programs and the residents are getting the education material. This also engages the faculty who, if he is not asked to contribute to education program because they are not eligible, then they also become roughened. Keeping them in the framework would also keep them sharp. So these are two things that we have envisaged of late. We have already started work on that. One of the things which was very attractive to all clinicians in the hospital was, often we see that there is a lopsided representation of some aspect of a specialty in a hospital, and some other hospital has some other work because the type of specialists who are working there, they decide the flavor of the work carried out. And therefore, clubbing them together would be a holistic exposure to the trainees from both hospitals. So this was complementing. So in the first meeting of the Obs-Gynae Specialty Board with very eminent members of the board, we had a meeting about 6 weeks back, and they were very effusive about it. They said, yes, such hubs should be created. They will complement each other. We have to work on logistics. So we thought that we can create an MOU between hospitals so that there is no attrition. They feel they are part of it. That's part one. So hospitals, the training of the trainers, we wanted to introduce. Third component was that, as I said, that an example I will start with, we found a very high failure rate recently in some of the broad specialty examination. Only 25% candidates passed, for example, in orthopedics. This was a shock to us. And one might get away saying that we are a very high standard maintaining institution, therefore we will not pass unless you have got a very good sort of cutting edge knowledge and all. I think probably such high failure rate calls for more explanation from our side. So we looked into much detail, and we thought we will look into the curriculum. So we have a curriculum meeting of the boards. We asked them to put together what curriculum they are projecting. We looked at how the questions are being framed. We are looking at how people who come for checking the copy, is there a problem there, because how you mark it. And finally, we are looking also feedback from the postgraduates when they take the exam as to were you happy, what the question difficulty levels were okay or not. So as I said that by merely being an examination conducting body, we are going much more deeper into how we can improve the education part of it. Now, education part of it can be improvised when the students start rotating between hospitals. Obviously, we have to make an assessment that what they are getting trained is also a proper formative assessment. The formative assessment is something rather new to the world. There are few universities in the world which have introduced that into their system, but it's not an overall thing. But it has if for any place it has a value, it has most value in India. Because of the heterogeneous system that we have, even medical colleges do not have a homogeneous uniform training patterns. There is a lot of lopsided differences. So what we want to do is to create that system which will not be examining the students at the end of 3 years. That will be an assessment done periodically. All the time when they are seeing cases, they will be able also to assess themselves. The examiners and trainers will assess themselves, and the system will assess themselves, because whether there is requirement to be. So they are being navigated slowly throughout the period of 3 years. That will bring strength and the trainers, trainee, and the system. Now, in short, another aspect that we think we can go ahead with is to create an information technology hub within our national board. This hub will be very broad-based. They will have webinars. We have already doing about 150 webinars every morning. We are increasing those numbers. We are getting curriculum and inputs from the specialty boards of each specialty. Now, I'll just briefly tell you before we start discussing, is that the curriculum could be structured with a mix of state-of-the-art lectures by faculty. Now, obviously, in one morning, there is, as Dr. Lokesh was mentioning yesterday, there should be one talk on cardiology, which will be heard by all the students, postgraduates in cardiology throughout the country. And that will be a standard talk. Webinars, digitally transmitted live case presentation. Now, this live case presentation would have an opportunity which is still there. We are doing it already. Increase their numbers. Two-way traffic between students and the faculty. And it is time bound. But if a student misses out, it is available on the net. Even in the afternoon post-duty, he can get on to that I have missed out on a case of hydronephrosis for that matter. He can get on to the discussion. So this is another part. Pre-recorded complex case scenarios and with and without interactive component, as I mentioned. Then in hospital where they don't see very complex cases, but there are trainees, they should still get exposure to these complex case discussions carried out in some other hospital, so that at least their awareness is there. Finally, operative videos and procedural videos are anyway part and parcel of the stream. But Dr. Suryanarayan mentioned a very good thing actually. So when we talk about, say, he mentioned about a medical college in a place with only 1 lakh population. Obviously, somebody has opened up that medical college, and I'm just discussing it because we might discuss it in the subsequent panel discussion. It's a very good point which has some innovative possibilities. A medical college serving a 1 lakh population, obviously, as far as conventional part is concerned, the number of cases exposure will be far less, and that is what your concern is, which is everybody's concern, and we would certainly be very, very itchy about it. But having said this, can we supplement that by adding those components which are not really required to see patient hands-on? So a significant component of training can come from digitally transmitted material, and the rest of it can come by hands-on. Plus, as Dr. Lokesh had mentioned, which probably a sentiment of large people in India, is that doctors or trainees can go to many private practitioners who are busy with very good cases. They can help them in the process also. They can learn. These are thoughts that we are still trying to mature and take it through our regulatory body. We will refine their loose ends, and we will come out with some solutions which we are thinking in the pipeline. So with this, I think I will stop so that we can take questions and further build it up. Thank you so much.
There is another mic, right? Two of them. Go ahead. No, you probably have to come to you. So, I'll come there. So the questions, both the regulatory bodies, NMC and DNB, and I think we have some of the questions we'll ask, or we'll try to make sure we'll generate them. So I'll bring the mic on and then go on. Okay, I'll come there. So I don't want statement, I want the main questions, specific questions.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Srinagesh Palawai from Virginia. Great talks by Dr. Bajpai and Dr. Suryanarayana Garu. The question I have is, of course, we did our medical school in late 70s and early 80s. I'm sure that a lot of things have changed here. Is there availability of latest journals in every medical school? Every student can access the through internet, or at least in the the printing part, and then instead of reading only textbooks and answering the questions, what is your curriculum going on?
I think this question answer should be by students, sir. I will ask student to answer that, then I'll come back to you. Which student do you want to answer? You understand the question, right?
Good afternoon, one and all. Sir, I could take this question. There are previously, if the question was at least 3 years back, the journals, the internet was not into the hands of the students as much as it is today. So many journals are being available online, and they are studying. And some of the good colleges, private colleges, are keeping their good journals in their library. So student is getting up to date. The interested ones will be getting that rather than everybody.
You want to add anything, Sunal, sir?
This journals and books, it's all mandatory for any medical college, either to establish or to increase of seats, or taken for postgraduate courses or super specialties. For every 100 students, we insist that there should be 30 journals. For 150 students, we insist 45 journals. Similarly, 3,000 books of latest books, and they have to be updated for 100 students. Similarly, 4,500 books for 150 seats. The books and volumes and each author or book on the same subject, they can have about 5 books, 5 volumes in a single subject. This is how we make it mandatory. But always there will be an interest, and there is a lot of money is involved. And students, most of the times, they depend on online journals and online reviews. And also we make it mandatory of computer points in every library. In postgraduate departments, every department should have one sub-library in the department. All these things are mandatory requirements for a medical institution to run. But practically, that utility point of view, if you say off record, many of the students or the teachers, they depend on their own online references.
To add to that, I do my allergy boards. Mostly I go on questions, Google search, get the articles and read. I don't do any journals. So how many of students you do Google search answers your questions? So almost all. So there is the answer, sir. Ashima. Dr. Ashima made me emergency medicine HOD, and because we have future plans of emergency medicine technicians and education standard, there is an association formed with Office Health, and Madam and Dr. Einstein from Washington, Seattle, they're working very hard to bring those high quality emergency medicine education across the board, probably with the app things. So Ashima madam, you have a question for them.
Thank you, sir. My question is to Narayan Raju, sir. Sir, emergency medicine, though was introduced as a subject in 2009, yet could not get more than 149 seats till 2019. The clause, grandfather clause, wherein specialties like general medicine, anesthesiology, general surgery, orthopedics, and respiratory medicine could associate professors and above could form the department if they are relieved from their parent department, and this is the way the departments were formed. Recently, sir, the clause, because it was for 10 years, has been stopped. And it has almost at the same time, mandatory emergency medicine has been envisioned with the help of RP, I should say. So, sir, will you think of increasing it to another 10 years so that mandatory emergency medicine is in force?
These are all practical difficulties. And what is required to the society is most important. What regulatory authority says, they give guidelines and mandatory requirements for starting new courses. But when it comes to the practice, there are courses which were started even 40 years before. Even today, teachers are not there. What is the answer for it? For example, endocrinology. Many departments even today, they show general physician as a head of department of endocrinology. The specialty was, DM was started in 1980s. So even for endocrinology, they have given 10 years time for to have required faculties as a teachers. Even today, they don't have. Similarly, if you keep on extending that, there is no never ending. But is that the solution of extending and also continuing, relaxing the rules? We don't know. I don't know. I don't have any answer for it. What we do for new courses is, we identify the feeder courses, we identify the teachers from where they should be drawn for. For example, if it is emergency medicine, general surgery, orthopedics, anesthetists, and also physician, all these people are eligible to lead and also work as a teacher for emergency medicine. Similarly is the family medicine. Initially, first 10 years, when we relax the rules and also allow the teachers to be recruited, they should have training. They should have minimum of 2 years training to call themselves as teacher. Please understand this point. All of a sudden, till yesterday working in one department, today cannot be heading the another new department. They should have some training to travel either to a government institution, central institution, or any other university or deemed university or a private medical college. They should go and work for 2 years to become a teacher and then continue as a teacher for a new specialty. That is a mandatory thing. Otherwise, what happened? Every college, what is there to their convenience? Yesterday, you had our department of one department, and today you had our department of new department, and tomorrow to the convenience back to the original department. These things should not be permitted. This is an observation based on that. Probably 10 years relaxation is a good relaxation, and by this time they would have produced. But today we haven't stopped not closed the doors, but we always see what is the requirement, and also we try to relax as and when it is required. Thank you.
Hello. So the emergency medicine, when it is department formed, they give 10 years, but it's not mandated. So 10 years passed by. That's why madam asking is you consider another 7-8 years the same thing. So that way we can have capacity building, which is very essential. That's what we also think is needed.
Usually, we don't close the doors that, but there are issues. Once, they, in spite of several, correspondence, if they don't change it, but we cannot keep on doing it. These are two-way process. It's not one way. The colleges also should realize if they plan for something new course, they should plan in advance. They should start the unit in the same parent department, or they should start the department separate, and also should identify the faculty with the requisite experience and put them into the department. Otherwise, what happened? No, we are doing just for the sake of convenience. If the students don't join, they change the name of the department to something else. None of the faculty will exist there. I'm talking in terms of private colleges, how they do it. Regulatory authorities, we cannot go and chase them. We have limitations. Please understand that.
Rakesh, sir.
So, Dr. Suryanarayan has very clearly outlined the constraints that are facing regulatory bodies, because unless you have dedicated faculty, running a course would fall on its face, and we'll suddenly realize that students who have gone there for a particular training have not been trained as much. That's where sometimes being idealistic is good for the ultimate result, but the difficulty is what lies within that itself. That's where we have to do some out-of-the-box thinking. And this forum is just to think about options, so that when we go back, Dr. Suryanarayan and myself go back and we discuss with our board as to what more can be done. That's the idea behind it. It might succeed, it might not succeed. As it happened with everything, starting back with pediatric medicine, once upon a time, not very long before actually I joined medicine, it was the physicians, MD medicine people who were treating pediatricians. O.P. Ghai was a MD medicine. He never did pediatric degree, and he one of the tallest pediatricians in the country. So they decided to go, as Dr. Suryanarayan mentioned, they dedicated themselves to this part. Till that part comes, a model which is analogous to that can be conceived. As I said, we will go back and discuss. It may fall through or not fall through. And the model is not very difficult from family medicine model. So we have people who are required to contribute to emergency medicine education. They require multiple specialties input like cardio, neuro, endocrinology, diabetology for that matter, etc., gastro and all. So those faculties can contribute man hours to the students who have been engaged for education. At the end of 3 years, when these man hours are summated together, they would end up with a certain timeline of course exposed to them, and they would be taking the exam, and they will be the teachers from next day onwards. So I would think that we have to think about plans about it. And I said very hastily because family medicine is the theme of this meeting this time, and you are very passionate about it, just like we also want it. Same, obstetrics, pediatric, ophthalmology, ENT, and cardiac. We may not have family medicine teachers to begin with, sir. But if we have contribution in terms of man hours, as I said, full-timer term has to be replaced by man-hour term. If that happens, the contribution will be immense. Suddenly we will find a lot of people. So redefining things that as we understand them. I have an example to give again. I will not take it because it's a very clinical thing, and we have undergraduates who may not. So I think that we have to think the problem that you have outlined very, very clearly is really a stumbling block. Can we find an answer to that? And it has happened historically. People in surgery had done urology and make us urologists. There are people who have done medicine, made us pediatricians. So in this transition phase, we might have to consider a little out of that straitjacket to think about possibilities.
So I'm Dr. Rakesh Garg, works at AIMS New Delhi. Small submission to National Board and NMC. There are various professional bodies which are doing considerable good work in imparting various skill education, teaching and training. National Board and NMC are the leaders into it. But I think they should be given some chance, some platform that those bodies who are doing to the quality standards, they can be given some option that they can collaborate or they can contribute towards expanding these type of skill programs. Like for example, I'm part of the Indian Resuscitation Council along with the API, which is supporting us very regularly. And the quality standards of teaching training are to the international level, which has been well recognized by the international authorities also. So if NMC and National Board can consider these type of professional bodies, which will be across speciality, because these type of skills are across speciality. So if we can be given a platform that these professional bodies can in some way come to the platform, they can be offered some type of support so that all our professionals are trained for skill teaching. This is one. Second, I think there are very negatives of COVID, but one COVID which positive has come out is that we have started learning from the hybrid courses. So we have a lot of things, the teaching training which is being taken is majority is on physical format. And as you rightly said that there is very much shortage of teachers, good teachers in fact. So I think if National Board and NMC can consider some form of hybrid teaching training, even for skill, like we are working for the research station part, that some type of good teachers which are available across India or outside India, if they can be brought to the collaborative effort to the NMC or NB, I think they will be more than happy to contribute to the standard teachings. And we are looking future that many of the things can be done online on software based or app based, so that it will be an accessible teaching platform to many of us. So starting from the conventional platform teaching in the form of classes, National Board has already started various clinical programs which are hybrid. So this is second submission to National Board and NMC, that we can have online or app based strategies for teaching and training for various skills and for various core curriculum products also.
In NMC, apart from regular teachers and regular faculties, the consultants, guest lectures and also guest faculty and also teachers at regular intervals is permissible now. It's all accredited and also officially permitted. There is no problem on that. Previously it was not there, now it is permitted. When it comes to the online teaching, still it is not officially permitted, and probably we have to wait and see, because there are pros and cons. It is not one-sided advantage. There are disadvantages also. Because it is a range of educational system. It is a wide spectrum and multifaceted. Difficulties with difficult institutions, and everybody try to take for their own advantage. And many of the colleges may also avoid appointing the faculties. So these are the challenges. We cannot talk in open forums, but we are seeing such things in practice. So keeping that in mind, online teachings are not officially permitted, but teachers are, as guest faculty or invited faculty or regular teachers or consultants are permitted.
To add to that, two things. Harvard medical students have two options. They can go to the classroom or they don't have to. They can watch the recordings. 90% don't go to the class. This is Harvard. This is written article everywhere. And also the most intelligent students, questions to the student, who goes to the classroom though? The intelligent, real smart guys goes to the class or so-so goes to class? Most intelligent don't go to class. What they do is, they took the class, whatever they know, they fast forward. What they don't know, they research. So my personal feeling is, I will keep away my personal feeling. Let me ask the students, in your classroom, how many people trust your faculty versus your apps? Raise the hands, apps. Don't be afraid. Nobody examine, face you, follow you. Sir, I just want, because I every day, morning to night, I talk to the students. So I just want to present that one.
No, I know. What I told is, it is not uniform.
Yeah.
People are not uniform mindsets. All India institutions, postgraduate institutions, government medical colleges, and deemed universities, most of the times, there is no need for us to tell anything. They do systematically without even asking. But there are colleges, due to various limitations, they try to adopt this. and it sometimes that may lead to difficulties to the student training program. They may not be having any regulatory authority to see who is taking classes, how are they taking classes, what are their backgrounds. I told you in my lecture, some of the countries, neighboring countries, when they are training our students there are two types of classrooms. One is for their native students, where they have standard curriculum examination pattern. For our students, separate curriculum, separate teaching, separate examination. Students pass the examination, they award the degree and come back. There are colleges in our own country, they don't follow the standards. Still, on paper, you can't find anything with them. And we are not here to blame anybody. We cannot relax the rules, and they may widen the relaxation and to their own convenience. End of that, whatever we expect benefit to the students are harmed. That much I can tell you. Let us not discuss more than that.
Sir, I'm Dr.
hello.
Ajay Kumar, pediatrician, Hyderabad, sir. Regarding the hybrid teachers concept, which Sir Dr. Garg has mentioned, today, most of the private medical colleges, what you just now told us about the government medical colleges and the central government institutes and other standard classical institutes which are having this teaching program, which we are just heard you talking about. About the private medical colleges, we have severe lack of faculty, sir. And Indian Medical Council of India, which come periodic inspections, most of these colleges fail to pass the standards laid down in the rule book. So how to go about and improve the recruitment process, or at least the suggestion from bodies like this to the government of India regarding giving a hybrid doctors who are also in the private practice and also in the government service?
See, the colleges and the teaching programs, it's a very tough subjects. I tell you, the colleges which are standard, established, and over a period of 2 decades experience in teaching and also training programs. The same colleges now, they are permitted to increase the number of seats from 100 to 150, 200 up to 250. There was also a proposal last year, now it is not there. Last year proposal was to increase further, why not up to 300 and 350? Then what we found, I myself found a lot of lapses. Lapses are found in this direction. Undergraduate courses, that is MBBS, when they made from 150 to 250, each college should have, general medicine should have 8 units, general surgery should have 8 units, obstetrics, orthopedics, pediatrics should have 5 units each for 250 students. Somehow, let us say that the college fulfills all the criteria for completing the units for undergraduate training. Then, next question is, same college should also continue postgraduate training program. Then, they have to supplement more teachers. Supplementing more teachers is another question. Then they start the super specialty courses. They have to supplement the infrastructure as well as the teachers. When you see that teaching programs and the number of teachers, availability and their qualifications and criteria, journals and publications, probably some of the things they greatly miss and they are unable to fulfill. Whether to cut down the undergraduate seats or postgraduate seats, one question. When we analyze and assess the college, we assess undergraduates in one direction, postgraduates depends on the specialty and number of seats, recognitions, different lines of assessments we do. Same teachers are juggled between the units and all these things they do. In government side, there are colleges, excellent colleges we have in this country, fulfilling every criteria, and based on that, some private colleges are doing extremely well in the country. But there are colleges create lot of difficulties for us to take decisions. So keeping that in mind, when we are relaxing rules, when relaxing regulations, we have to be careful. That much I am telling now. Not more, see, we cannot say that, every college do that, but they have their own difficulties because ultimately money is involved in that. If they were to appoint more teachers and we have to pay big money to them, otherwise why good teachers come to the college? So all these difficulties go around money. These are the problems we have. And at the end of that, our priority is the student education. We receive a lot of complaints from parents and teachers about the colleges. They complain that the teachers are not there, patients are not there, they're collecting big money and not all these problems are to be balanced by us.
So one more different topic, the NEET examination, which we all 100% should have done next exam 40 years ago. Now, I think we have studied, I think students want to ask the question, they want the multiple, whatever the next pattern in the theory part of anatomy, physiology, university. Harun or Simhachalam, you want to ask? Is it here?
Yeah. Sir, I have a question there's tremendous changing pattern that we are witnessing right now. Like NEET PG is going to be replaced by NEXT. And as we know that NEXT is tentatively MCQ based. NEXT will be MCQ based. But what we are taught from the first year is that we are used to appear for exams in theory based exams. So I just want to present some data. Like James last year did a research with sample size of 7,500 plus students. And I would like to just present you some data. Like 46% students expressed that MCQ based examination should be implemented from first year itself. Whereas 85% plus students felt that MCQ based exams would help them in theory and practical. So why not introduce MCQ based examination from first year itself? If not fully MCQ, then we can keep it partly MCQ and partly theory based. So what's your opinion on this, sir?
These are the evolving systems. These are all trial and error. We have to take it forward. In American system, already American board, they are already practicing it. Probably we also adopt into that. These are all evolving system, and we have to go slowly without ruling out on original system. Okay. See, when you appear for entrance test for MBBS, that is MCQ. That's the first time they appear and also go through. Similarly, when we adopt it, we have to adopt slowly. Probably, definitely, we will consider that.
I'm the delegate, RP delegate from Charlotte, North Carolina, and I'm really glad that we have this kind of gathering here. This particular subject is very, very dear to me because we hear a lot of clinical seminars and talks and discussions, but talking about the medical education in India now and comparing it to the international standards. I became a psychiatrist in USA. I took ECFMG examination, which was a standard examination to start the residency program in USA, 1972. My experience over the USA is that our delegates, our physicians have done exceedingly well compared to any other world nationalities, including US graduates. Our physicians have gone to USA and really gone to achieve one of the highest standard of clinical care and academic skills, and they have achieved the high positions in just about any department in the USA. My question right now is, on the negative side, our new graduates have difficult time in getting match for the intern residency matching program just because they are MBBS from India. Question is that, are we producing equally, basically standard physicians to the American standards so that they can compete and get the matching with the US medical graduates? That's one issue, number one. Do we have any data? Have we any comparative values that we have established to make sure that our current graduates are making the national, international standards of medical education and practicing? Thank you.
I will answer that question. Because there are 83 or 90, I'm sorry, 90,000 residents, graduates in India. There are only 2,000 seats Indians can get into the America. Only 2,000. You have to get 90th percent of the school, 240, to get a residency. In one residency, there are 20 people from India are waiting for it. Top of the cream are there, still not getting it. That's the numbers. See, US is not discriminating it. US, how many people from other countries? India is discriminating foreigners, our own neighbors going there, coming back. Okay, keep that side. API, USMLE, we fought, signed by Bill Clinton. Dr. Jagan Kakral, API member, is a CEO. USMLE is a result signed by Bush. All universal examination is one. Coming back to the SIR's next examination coming next year, you cannot imagine out of 80,000, 20 to 30% of these students get 240 scores. 240 scores means the competition is even higher. So I mentioned in my letter, first, 18 students applied to get 1 MBBS compared to 4 in India, America. So our students are smart, they're very, very highly qualified. Their number of seats are not there. They cannot give it. 35,000 residencies, 28,000 American grads. So if your son is a graduate from American school, if the other foreign doctor is much high qualified, who do you want to give the seat in America? Yeah, after 28 done, the 2,000 citizens will come. There's only 4,000 left. You want to give all 4,000 to Indians or other 160 countries? Stay in India. I don't know. I don't know what to say. See, sorry, sir. One research question, sir. We need.
Good evening, everyone. I am from Global Association of Indian Medical Students. So we are very thankful to NMC and NBMS for their continuous efforts to improve the medical education in India. So I am going to represent few of my and my organization ideas regarding improvement of undergraduate medical research in India. Sir, if we see research at an undergraduate level was given very less importance if we see at the level of postgraduates or at the level of faculty. But students are requesting to introduce a research course. Like if you see in post-graduation, there is a mandatory certification course of health research fundamentals in order to get their post-graduation hall ticket. So if we introduce a similar dedicated course for undergraduate level by decreasing the pass percentage, or just they need to appear, so they are requesting, sir. Another thing, sir, if there is any special consideration for people who done in research at an undergraduate level regarding their entry into their postgraduate level, like if you see in USMLE, they will give special preference. So that can help to increase more quality research at an undergraduate level, sir. And regarding the why there is a need for research at an undergraduate level, sir. So while I am interacting with several postgraduates, if you see the current patient load is very high in India. So when I asked them, they said like it is very hard to manage both clinical aspects and research aspects to conduct a novel research, and most of the postgraduates are into the research at the postgraduate level. They don't have much awareness in the undergraduate level. If we make more students aware about research and research methodology at an undergraduate level, so we are thinking that they can do some good research at a postgraduate level, sir. And sir, regarding the physician scientists, sir, the number of doctors representing the scientists from a medical community is little lesser. So if we introduce a physician scientist courses at an undergraduate level and postgraduate level, can bring more doctors and medical students into the core clinical scientist area, sir. We have a developing in physician scientist workshop, but still, if we have more courses in this aspect, so there will be more physician scientists from level, sir. Yes, sir. Also regarding the CBME medical education curriculum, so there is a special preference to research and internships. So if such more specific internships and observations were introduced in the undergraduate level, so there is a high scope for research, sir.
How many
And
questions?
sir, that's all, sir.
Let's stop. First question, they want asking for the.
Yeah, please.
No, you first question.
Research, let us start with research for the clinicians or the physicians, like MD, MS people doing the PhD program. It is encouraged, now we are encouraging through National Medical Commission. Whoever wanted to do PhD, they will be encouraged more in the form of either promotion or for positions, okay? When it comes to the postgraduates and research is part of their training program and they have to do it. Now it became a mandatory from the National Medical Commission to have biomedical research and also biotechnology, medical education training program. All these things made mandatory for any teacher to have the course in that. Otherwise, they will not be allowed to go for promotions and higher positions. When it comes to the research for undergraduates, it is not mandatory and it's not that easy for to make it a mandatory. To have the orientation program for research, orientation program for exposure, and some form of research exposure, like what is happening to pre-medical graduates in US, the system is not adopted in India at the moment. Probably in future, that all depends on how it evolves and how to do it. It is a populated country. And if you see the number of students appearing for MBBS entrance test, there are only about 5.8% of the students get MBBS seats. What does it mean? If all of them to have exposure for research, how many lakhs of students are there? And we cannot give priority also because it's all involved with a lot of money and also resources. Resources is a big issue in India. What is the quality research done in India is in some limited institutions and also that organizations. Many medical colleges probably they will not have quality research. We made it mandatory of having publications to become associate professor, publications to become professor. You will be disappointed to see all 4 publications are published in indexed journal in 1 volume, just before promotion. You can imagine the quality of publication. Okay?
Thank you, sir. Any other questions? Oh, why? Please. Go ahead.
Way to introduce this initially for the internal assessments, MCQ based. What is your say on that, sir?
Actually, there are many questions stitched together. And as Dr. Suryanarayan had very rightly answered, we are constrained by the regulations which are there. There is also a convention involved in it. So suddenly breaking the shackle would be very difficult. But as I said that he also left loose ends. And when we go back to the drawing board back in Delhi, we will think about these things. So there are various, when I said there are several questions to stitch together in this. Now, Dr. Rakesh, will begin with that. I'll come to this part because it's a bigger question. Multidisciplinary input, the kind of program that you all are doing, and which has got multidisciplinary input. And so I'll tell you what we have done so that we can understand it is doable and what are the difficulties. So minimally invasive surgery or skills lab is an integral component of surgical training these days. We all know this. When we go to hospital national board programs, postgraduate courses, often all the hospitals are not equipped for MIS. And it's part of the training program. Every surgeon who comes out or a specialist on surgery who comes out of his program must have MIS training, but it may not be happening to that level. So what we have done, our president has done with our concurrence of our board is that we have identified about 10 to 15 such MIS centers across the country. They're all private centers and they are doing very good job. They charge fee from people when they run their systems, obviously. So we have identified them. And the postgraduates who are being trained in different hospitals, they would be probably soon be asked after going through the processes, as I said, that if they get an accreditation from there, a certification of a few hours of training, whatever number of hours, 2 to 5 days is for skill, etc., then we will recognize that. So in terms of the platform, which is available, which is multidisciplinary, which is very difficult to reciprocate in every hospital, but which is mandatory for a trainees training program, we are going to tap this so that the training is happening. This particular part is going to be reciprocated in many, many areas where you mentioned about many aspects. In this morning also, we were talking to Dr. Rao, who has ambulance services. So there are many, many scenarios which can be tapped, which are there in private setup, which are part of the training program. The hospitals don't have it, but we can expose our postgraduates to them so that the number of hours required for training is available. Now, second part, as I said, it is stitched together was that the MCU construct, for example, the MCU construct can be made such. These days, the MCQs carry diagrams, they carry small stories, images, etc. And these are interpreted in answering questions. We have come a long way from the straightforward questions now. So therefore, even it is connected to the undergraduate question for research, actually. So if the questions can be integrated in MCQ, and the undergraduates, there are difficulties. Dr. Suryanarayan has very bluntly pointed out, we must know our constraints to get further strides. So therefore, the MCU construct can be such that students who have either research insight or information through available web-based platform can address those questions. So again, MCU construct comes in a digital way to address the issue, madam. And thirdly will be we should look into a form a committee with IARP or with some other boards, and NMC can do it. We should sit down and think in medical education, especially for undergraduates, what is the component which can be digitally made available to them on apps? These days, I find much less medical graduates go to classes. They are there studying and they have good knowledge. So we can have to find which is a realistic component which could be digitally trained to them, and which is where the hands-on practical part, patient care, practicals per se, dissections part of it can be replaced, so that a sizable number of requirement of actual teachers in flesh and blood can be reduced, and then we can optimize on training more students. That's part 3. We have, again, in National Board, we have done 2 aspects of it. Somebody asked the question of availability of library. This is a practical problem which we face. When we go for inspection, we often find the books are not there, library is not existing, but because the regulation requires it, they fall short of it. So we realized this problem over the years. So what we have done, one, just to tell this in an August situation, is we have digitalized all the thesis work. All the students who have submitted their thesis have been digitalized. It will now be available. That's only part 1. Part 2 is the online library. We are tapping online library resources to various international journals. We are trying to look at their cost and see if we can optimize and make it available. So every hospital who's running a program does not have to have all the journals, but because he's part of the accreditation system with the national board, he will get access to that code, which makes his students access to those libraries. So these are things which probably may work out in this difficult scenario, at least because there is a shortage. And we are in digital times. If we have to tap these available resources to our benefit, otherwise if we keep waiting, it might be a little long. So these are things probably will come back to it. Full cycle, I think your question is answered. Thank you so much.
I think we'll go.
Good afternoon, everybody. Regarding the family medicine, NMC Act, National Medical Commission Act, has clearly instructed that a dynamic curriculum of family medicine, primary care and community medicine should be developed. And at the same time, promotion and starting of the post-graduation courses should be started. Actually, there is a growing recognition, there is a growing importance of the primary health care. It is all over the world. Almata Declaration was in 1976, but there is a reinterpretation of the primary health care. During the past 30 years, primary health care has been distorted, simply confined to the vertical programs. The spirit of Almata has been distorted. So now a new trend, a radical trend, a novel trend is taking place all over the world. And family medicine is gaining much importance. You see in the Latin American countries, almost except one country, all the Latin American countries have started family medicine programs. There is a family doctor, nurse team. They are doing a lot of work at the horizontal level, at the community level, at the society level, at the family level, family levels. So the need of the hour is to develop family medicine. India needs badly. Family medicine is the need of the hour. That is why Dr. V.K. Paul has clearly told in the last meeting that on the government side, we'll take care of it. We'll start the post-graduation courses. So again, I would like to point out and take into your observation that unless you made family medicine department a mandatory at the undergraduate level, there is no scope of development of the family medicine. So far, family medicine is only confined to the National Board of Examinations. Almost 15, 20 years ago, the regular courses of family medicine have been started. But even still, there is no mandatory faculty in the family medicine departments in the National Board Examination accredited institutions. So I would like to point out some problems. Just I will read out, sir. Lack of awareness about family medicine by MBBS graduates, as medical colleges do not have MBBS curriculum or Department of Family Medicine. The solution is start Department of Family Medicine and rotation in family medicine in all medical colleges. Regarding the rotations, in most training places with the DNB family medicine, the residents do not have proper rotations and are merely used as cheap workforce. Solution, have a system of anonymous feedback and also rating of training hospitals for DNB family medicine. Third aspect I would like to point out is regarding the faculty. Most hospitals with the DNB family medicine do not have family medicine specialists, and the training is done by those who have not been trained in family medicine and do not have understanding about the subject. The solution is National Board of Examinations must make it mandatory for all family medicine training institutions to have at least family medicine trained faculty. National Board of Examinations to have faculty training workshops for family medicine. The fourth point I would like to point out is assessment. More family medicine faculty have to be involved in the assessments. A guideline on assessment for DNB family medicine has to be prepared and sent to the examiners, as most of them do not have family medicine training. There should be clear description of the knowledge, attitude, and skills that an appropriate exit exam for family medicine DNB should test. And the fifth point is develop regional training hubs for training in family medicine. Identify, develop centers of excellence in different parts of the country for training in family medicine and have regular ongoing regional training programs. So we would like to point out the vision of VK Paul and National Medical Commission is to develop 1 lakh PG seats. So far there are 80,000 undergraduate seats are there, and about 54,000 PG seats are there at present. And the vision of improving to 1 lakh can only be done by introducing the family medicine PG courses, and that is a need of our, and we would like to stress upon it.
Thank you, sir. So I think we passed 3 o'clock. Please answer that. These are questions for the DNB board. So we are
basically, the question which has been put up by the panelists is absolutely appropriate. There is a deficiency of family medicine postgraduate. The will to start program is not lacking, but the fear is that postgraduates are not taking the program even when we have introduced it, because they don't find jobs out of it. Now, let us look at holistic view on this. Who were family medicine practitioners in India traditionally? They were, and please pardon me if I am saying something which may hurt somebody, because it's a global connected scenario. There were people who wanted to do post-graduation, couldn't get post-graduation, or were not very happy doing it. They became post-MBBS family medicine practitioners. Sometimes they were called GPs, sometimes family medicine doctors, family doctors, different names. But the quality of family medicine-oriented practitioner can be improvised by a course. There is no doubt about it. It is the lack of available jobs which is dissuading the post-undergraduates or the post-MBBS to take up that course. They said, what will they do? So by default, it was the MBBS who was doing family medicine, but now want to make it enhanced and give it a course. Where is the job like? So we are trying to look at angles. What could be the solution? One is the GDMO jobs which are there in the country. There are 100 general duty medical officer jobs. They are post-MBBS jobs only. If we write on that, preferably family medicine postgraduate, we cannot start overnight because there is no course. Preferably, people will start doing it and the buzz will go around, number one. Number two, as Dr. Lokesh was mentioning, there's a huge practice scenario. Those who get such enhanced level of training in family medicine, they would do generous practice. They will take away the need for going to a diabetologist, reduce the burden, etc. to specialist. But then, what do we do then? The Ayushman Bharat and the various yojanas which the government of India has pumped into private hospitals. So patients can go, they can get treated. There are some examples from some states allowing some clinics where patients go as to GPs, they get money. So there is an alternative scenario which can build up some kind of a vocation for post-family medicine postgraduates. But as I said that the will is there, we have to see it realistically. Are we able to place them after this course either as GDMOs or through the Ayushman Bharat programs? That is the bottleneck. The need is there, sir. There is no doubt about it. We have to work out on a different aspect of it, the administrative aspect, so that it becomes viable.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. So I will go into the palliative subject. Is Dr. Pallet here? Yeah. I think we'll conclude the medical education. Next we'll go to the palliative because time we passed. Any questions, please make sure we come to us and we'll be able to get the answers for you. You want the palliative? You want to go ahead and continue the palliative here? Yeah, go ahead.
On behalf of API, I want to thank all the panelists here for discussing some very important medical education reforms and the ambitious plans and the constraint that they're working with. And we really appreciate your participation and coming here. And also the students came and listened intently. and they have a lot of questions. So you have a lot of homework to go back to do and hit the road again. Thank you again, all of you. And the next session will continue with the palliative medicine panel discussion. Thank you.
Is Dr. Gayatri Pallet here? Dr. Gayatri Pallet, the palliative care specialist. Is she here today? No, I don't think she is. So, let's ask.
All mandatory for any medical.
Very good afternoon. So coming to the next session, which is with regards to the palliative medicine, This is one of the emerging need that we need to adapt, accept in Indian scenario also. Okay. So I bring greetings from my institute. I work at All India Institute of Medical Sciences, where we do have Department of Palliative Medicine, and we have started the various teaching courses that are available at palliative medicine. So when we talk about palliative medicine, the clinical scenario could be many, whether it could be oncology setting, even in non-oncology setting. There will be a group of patients that probably would require some type of comfort care. We may not be able to provide them complete cure. For example, say advanced malignancy. For example, say patients of chronic renal disease who are having a terminal illness in the sense that they are requiring continuous dialysis with multi-organ failure. And these will be the group of patients wherein probably will not be able to provide them complete cure, but then these patients do have a right to get comfort, to get good life, and probably a good death also. And this is what palliative care talks about. This is a very standard definition of palliative care as per World Health Organization, and which is very well accepted worldwide. It has some recent changes, but the basic crux remains to provide good quality of life to the patients. When we talk of various chronic condition, whether they are malignant or non-malignant, they have various trajectories. For example, we say that in India, if the cancer patient comes early, almost 80% are curable. But if we see in our centers, many of these patients will come in advanced stages, and they will have a trajectory of the pending life they have. So they will be just having various disease condition, and wherein they will have declining death, or in chronic disease, like for example, say heart failure, renal failure, liver failure, they will have a good amount of events in between where the quality of life goes down, but with clinical care, they comes up, but gradually they will go down. And these again, patients will require some type of support so that whatever the life is with them, even with the chronic disease, they are leading a comfortable life. So these are patients who are incurable cancers, even for other disease like HIV patients, like CVA, stroke patients, any neurological deficit, and even the cardiac patients. So these are the group of patients that probably would require some support system in the form of palliative care. We may not be providing them complete cure. All patients may not be fully amenable for renal transplant, liver transplant, or cardiac transplant. They have their own limitations. And hence, these patients would be in this category where we can offer them some type of comfort care so that these patients lead a comfortable life. If you see the Indian scenario, almost 3 million patients are with cancer at any moment of time. Equal number of patients with other incurable disease, non-malignant disease. Almost 1.4 to 1.6 million of HIV patients who have some associated issues, symptoms that needs taken care of. And these are increasing very rapidly in Indian population. At any given time, almost 5.4 million people will need palliative care. Now, these are the group of population that we need attention. They are not being provided a clinical care where we can cure them, but they definitely, as a matter of human right, they deserve a comfort care. And this is a huge population which is increasing. Even the elderly population is increasing, and we are talking about the palliation in elderly population also, because these patients may have additional comorbidity. And even the COVID scenario in the first wave and the second wave, we have seen that even the COVID-19 patients management, when we talk of the basic medical principle of use of resources judiciously, even on those, there will be subset of population in which a couple of COVID-19 patients who are having some advanced disease do require palliative care, palliation. So palliation even in COVID care has emerged as one of the modality, so that we cannot ignore them. And that's why we need to have a system wherein we provide the patient just not the physical domain of management, but we also need to look for the other aspects which are again under the domain of medical management. Now, this requires understanding of a transdisciplinary team. It is basically a conglomeration of various specialists when you talk of not only palliative care physician, but the basic understanding should be across all specialty, whether somebody is physician or a surgeon or other specialty or super specialty, they should have basic understanding of palliative care physician so that they can provide comfort care to these patients. Hence, we need to have some system so that the understanding of palliation is across, but those patients who require specialist palliative care, there should be some provision of getting them referred to these physicians so that they can provide them best possible care. So this is what I mean that when we talk about the palliative care, it is an umbrella. It's an umbrella specialty covering all specialty and all patients who are not getting fully cured and they are manifesting some of the symptoms, they need palliation, they need palliative support, they need comfort care, and hence it remains in the domain of palliative care. The end-of-life care. When we see these terminally ill patients, the end-of-life again is a major issue. Many of the times these patients are in the ICUs, on the ventilator. We don't have the hope that they will survive, but they are still in the setup where the near and dear ones are not with the patient. Also, they uses a lot of resources with regards to the infrastructure and manpower. They use a lot of resources, but they are not supposed to be actually in the ICU because we know this is a terminal event. So we need to have some system, and which is basically the palliative care itself, wherein these patients may be at home. And in our practice, we see when these patients with advanced malignancies comes to us, almost more than 95 to 99% of patients, we are able to manage them at home rather than putting them into ICUs on machines and lines. And this is what is required, especially in Indian scenario also, that we have limited resources. We have been discussing all these, that we are not able to provide each human being, each individual the best possible care. Because some of these patients which are incurable advanced disease, these patients are taking those resources, those infrastructures, and hence we need to have some system in situ, some understanding of the palliation, that those patients who we think will not be surviving even with these advanced technologies, machines, and drugs. Probably these are the patients where we can think of end-of-life care with palliation, with supportive care, so that just not the patient suffers, but also the family member suffers. And hence we need to have provision of good end-of-life care, which is one of the integral part, again, of the palliative care. We have been using various terms as care beyond cure, but yes, that humanity, that compassionate, that empathy has to be brought into our medical teaching curriculum as well, so that just not a specialty, but it should be a part of teaching and training for across the specialty, so that they can understand that palliation may be required to some group of patients, so that we can serve other patients much better who have a chances to recover. The palliative care, the earlier understanding was that it was a terminal event. When patient does not have any chance to get any cure, then it was considered to palliate or end of life. But now with many studies, many data, many evidences which are coming up, if we start taking the palliative care from the beginning itself of a chronic disease, because some of these patients are going to get into a stage where they are advanced and they are not able to get cured completely. So these palliation, the early integration becomes a norm now, and hence there is an utter need of a specialty of a palliative care at each institute, at each hospital, so that they can take care of these patients from the beginning itself. And hence the load on the physicians and other specialty becomes less, and they can give more time, infrastructure, and resources to those patients who probably will recover and come back to the normal life. So this is what we are looking for. This is just not at the end of life care. Again, we need to support the patients even after death. The family members are in a stage of shock after the person expires, and hence some type of support system, some type of bereavement support also needs to be given, and that is again a part of palliative care, and that needs to be integrated into our clinical care while we are managing these patients. So having said that, I will come to the main focus that would be probably looking for the crux of management of palliative care, that we need to develop a system that it is just not the hospital-based care. We have to develop the system, the understanding, and creating the awareness so that we can provide palliation at any place, whether it is home, hospice, or hospital settings, or even in some specific locations like charitable organizations which can especially organize some camps or something like this. So this can be a potential place for providing palliative care. We don't need a very specialized, sophisticated with full of infrastructural organization or a unit for providing palliative care. It just requires understanding, awareness, and creation of a pool of palliative care physicians so that these patients can be provided comfort care at all point of time. So this is what is required. So this is my humble request to all the dignitaries who are here. When we are talking about improving palliative care, these are the 4 domains that we have to work on. One is the education. We need a structured training program. We do have MD palliative care, which has been started, and I'm very happy that even the DNB program has been started in the palliative care. So these type of educations programs needs to be created, and the provision needs to be made so that people can join these programs and we can have a pool of trained palliative care physicians. We were talking about the family medicine, same probably there can be some integration into the palliative care, and these type of creation of a pool of doctors of a palliative care probably will serve the purpose. The professional practice, we need to create awareness. Still, if you see many of the clinical practice, even at the last stage, even when they have a metastatic cancer, these patients would be receiving some chemotherapy or some amount of treatment till the last stage, and still, though we know that the patient is not going to survive. So that basic understanding that there is a point where we need to say that no further treatment, no further intervention would be for this patient from the cure point of view. Now this is the patient will require just the comfort care, and a palliative care physician will be take care of. The public awareness needs to be created. This is a very common terminology in which we have heard into our clinical practice. When a patient comes with advanced disease, they will be, the patient will be told that nothing can be done, go home and just relax. But then patient will be suffering with a lot of physical symptoms, psychological symptoms, spiritual symptoms. So this is, we need to create public awareness. Yes, though your disease is advanced, still the medical science has something to give it to you. We can make you comfortable. We can make you not only just good life, we have to introduce the concept of good death also for these patients from the humanity point of view. And having said that, the availability of services, another domain, we have very restricted number of centers and trained personnel for providing the palliative care. So we have to expand this service across the nation so that each human being, irrespective of the status of the disease, can get symptom-free, can have a good life and a good death also. So thank you so much for patient listening with regards to the palliation and the need of palliation. Thank you.
Let's finish it and then we can ask questions and all that. So can you project my slides, please? I think in the meantime, we can go ahead and ask just to save some time.
First of all, a lot of this cancer deaths and cancer patients, the family and also physicians don't want to tell the patient what their diagnosis is, and then they're in end stage, anything, end stage renal failure, end stage cancer. First of all, that has to be changed, because you need to tell, hey, this is the reality. And then you're giving a false hope or telling, oh yeah, you have something, you will be fine. That has to, even physicians have to change that attitude. And because in back home, when we are in the US, you have to tell. You don't want to hide that, oh, you're fine, you will be fine. That's the wrong thing to do. Number one is that. Number two, everybody thinks societal way, once the patient is dying, they shouldn't, take them to places where they can help. They will be suffering and sitting in one corner of the house. And then some family members, with no intention of thinking, okay, it's better to patient to die than what they have to go through, All these things has to be also in cultural and society way, we need to bring that. So that's what my comment was, to hopefully,
absolutely,
physicians have to
I fully agree.
The family too.
It's just not the public awareness, it's the awareness in the professional practice also, because it's too difficult for a professional super specialist person to say that, for example, say if I'm a nephrologist, it will be difficult to say, I have nothing more to offer to you. So I think there should be somewhere, no chemotherapy, no dialysis, just stop it, a comfort care. So that awareness has to be created, and obviously the public awareness, they should demand for a good life, a symptom-free life. I think that awareness is absolutely important. I fully concur with you.
Your point is very right. In United States, the patient has to be told the diagnosis. And I see some other cultures, patients in United States, as well as I have personal experience here, is we tend not to tell the diagnosis, which is dreadful, which leads to the death to the patient. The issue here is the culture and the spiritual background. What we have seen in the studies is when a particular culture, you tell the diagnosis of the cancer, the incidence of depression is way higher just because of what Dr. Gok said is education and awareness. Oh, cancer, then they go into depression, they just say, okay, I don't want anything done. So we see that a lot, but just a big hurdle to cross that is to have more education and awareness. Unfortunately, in the United States, we have to. There's no if and no's. If the family says, don't tell my mom or dad they have cancer, they say, nope, you sit aside. Well, patient is competent to make the decisions. We'll tell the patient what they have. So that's the most important thing is awareness and education, rightly said.
I think I fully agree with him, but I think there is something gap into our professional practice. It's very difficult to break the bad news. I think I'm happy that NMC and all the bodies have made it mandatory to have communication skills, because those soft skills are really, because the issue is that they don't want to tell the diagnosis, but the problem is how to tell a diagnosis. How can I say that I cannot treat you, or you are suffering from a disease which is advanced? So that breaking the bad news is a big issue. And communication skills, again, I'm happy that this has come into the mandatory domain of all the postgraduate programs now. And probably this issue of collusion, basically, which happens in these group of care of, and we have to disclose the diagnosis, and we are able to do it in majority of patients, except in couple of patients when patient himself says that they don't want to diagnose, they don't want to know the diagnosis, though they are getting treated into a cancer hospital for the last 5 years. So we know that they know the diagnosis because they are in the cancer ward, but they don't want to listen the word. So we honor them. But yes, most of the patients, telling them the diagnosis, we feel a state of satisfaction, become more cooperative, they become more acceptable to and compliance to what we are giving guidance or support or comfort care.
What is the need? How you can able to do can we able to come up with the AIMS program to the nation solution that way we can present to the sirs. So that's what I'm requesting, sir.
Right. I think
the purpose of today's meeting.
Very important questions. The AIMS New Delhi has taken a lead because AIMS New Delhi is already having the onco anesthesia and palliative medicine department for almost, which was made a department almost around 8 years back. But the palliative medicine is working there for more than 2 decades there under the leadership of Dr. Sushma Bhatnagar. And we have started MD palliative medicine 5 years back, and we have almost 8 seats every year. And all the palliative medicine residents are settling at different places, and they are in huge demand. So we get a lot of requests from various states across India that send your residents to us because we need palliative medicine. But we have only 8 candidates. They have 100% placement. Family medicine may not have, but palliative medicine have 100% placement. That's good to say. But there is an utter need that this model, which is running successfully in AIMS New Delhi for last so many years, MD palliative medicine with 100% placement till last 5 years, I think this model can be replicated. National Board has already approved the start of DNB palliative medicine, and to my knowledge, I think 5 or 6 centers have already applied and they have been approved for it. But I think the emergency medicine is one of the mandatory requirement for recognizing a new institute. So I think similarly, palliative medicine should also be part of in near future that somebody wants a recognition or a newly recognized institute, they should be a part of it, because it's just not a department, it's just not a unit or a course. It is basically, we are reducing the cost containment of from the financial point of view. We are increasing the quality of life of the patients from the patient point of view. And from the professional point of view, I found many of my colleagues, they will call us. Can you just counsel the patient? Patient, we are not able to manage it. Multiple sclerosis, stroke patients. Now we have started getting referrals from the cardiac patient, advanced cardiac heart failure with cardiomyopathies. They say that we are not able to cure it, but we are not able to say anything to the patient also. Can you come and counsel it? So they are those super specialists who will be required for curative aspect. Why not get a physician who can take care of these patients? So we will be balancing the curative aspect, giving them more time. On the other aspect, we are improving the quality of life. So this is an utter humble request to the NMC and national boards to create more pool of hospitals. And I'm sure that the AIMS New Delhi will be, or our department will be more than happy to mentor, support, or guide in any form Dr. Sushma Bhatnagar is taking. And I'm happy to inform that today morning only we got a good news from WHO that our department has been approved as WHO Collaborating Center for teaching and training in palliative care. So that's a good news. So I think we'll be, after going back, we'll be starting programs for palliative teaching and training across India.
Sir, congratulations, sir. Thank you for keeping this topic. I'm Dr. Manisha, I'm a nephrologist, sir, and many of our patients end up like that. So now the core of nephrology teaching is the patient should be given the option. We shouldn't force dialysis on the patient, be the creatinine 10 or 12, which we used to do. So it's a patient-centric approach, and many of them do opt for palliative care. So my only concern is palliative care also comes at a cost, sir. And none of the schemes, dialysis we are provided for under Ayushman Bharat and Arogyashri in Telangana, transplant is provided for, palliative care, nothing. So I think there should be some funding for palliative care as well. And I again congratulate you for taking this initiative and great talk.
Thank you, ma'am. With regards to finances, I think we have 6-bedded palliative care ward at AIMS main campus and 25-bedded ward at NCI Jaja. We don't have ventilators, we don't have monitors, we don't have infusion pumps. We just have beds and physician with some empathy, and we spend some time. So with regards to finances, it doesn't require a big lab or with good equipments or so many things. We use smaller drugs like morphine or these drugs which are very cheap. They are not costly, 15 rupees a strip, right? So they are very cost-effective drugs. Just needs to train the person, as you rightly said, that patient-centered approach. But when we try to explain to these patients, they accept. They accept that, yes, we don't want treatment, we don't want chemotherapy. So we have to have a team approach, and as sir rightly mentioned, that the understanding from the nephrologist point of view, that this is the point where probably dialysis is not going to help you much better. And we have studies. We have studies with dialysis, without dialysis, same lifespan of the patient, but with increased symptom burden of the patient coming to a dialysis room every third day or every second day. So I think this basic awareness, if it can be created, it's a very cost-effective program, and we are shifting our resources from a patient which does not require to a patient who actually requires it. So this will be a readjustment of our existing resources, and which I think India truly deserves. Yes, sir.
I'm from MNG Institute of Oncology and Regional Cancer Center.
Sir.
We have DNB been allotted to our hospital, and Arogyashri is covered for palliative care, madam. Yeah, for palliative care, it is covered. Yeah. So, see, like it is palliative care code, you have to feed it. You'll get the amount is very small. You can use that repeatedly. Once a month you can use the palliative. Sir, so big tells us the palliative care code is there. Palliative care from Telangana is there, and from all Arogyashri states and even from central government also it is there.
I know. I think the National Board of Examination and Medical Sciences has approved this course last year, and many centers, oncology centers, have applied for it. And AIMS is taking an initiative for non-oncology work in palliative care also. So we'll be bringing more work so that even those non-oncology setting, it will be easily used. And believe me, ma'am, it's very cost effective. It's very cost effective.
Code you can use. Code is there.
Good evening, I'm Dr. Manjula, and I'm a palliative care physician who's practicing in Hyderabad. And I'm not from the government sector or from in a private hospital. I'm a freelance practitioner. See, man, you were saying that the palliative care is not covered in Arogyashri and all. In MNJ, palliative care is being provided only for oncology patients. It's a cancer institute. So I trained myself in MNJ for a few months, then I did a diploma from Cardiff University to train myself in palliative medicine. We run an NGO. So palliative care medicine outside an institute, NGOs have a big role. Everywhere in India, you'll find so many NGOs who are providing palliative care, and many of them, most of them NGOs are running free, giving treatment free of cost for all non-cancer patients. And most of the palliative care departments are there in oncology institutes. And it's not there in a non-oncology institute, except from probably AIMS, which has, it's a multi-specialty institute, and oncology, palliative medicine is provided for all specialties. But in none of the hospitals it is provided for, probably in 1 or 2 institutes in Kerala it must be being provided. It's not being provided for other patients. So it is where NGOs have a big role in providing palliative treatment for these patients. And we have a 25-bedded palliative hospice in Hyderabad for adult as well as for pediatric patients. So we do palliative treatment for both oncology and non-oncology care. And anybody, it's still in a very initial stages, but I think there's a lot of scope and with support. And I would like that like the DNB board and the NMC board, if they recognize even these NGOs and the hospices or the institute, we run an extensive home care program also. So if these are also included as a part of palliative training, and we do, all the trainees who come to MNJ Oncology Institute for Palliative Medicine, they come to this hospice and home care training for home care program for training. So it's an integrated practice that we are doing. So even I work as a trainer, but I may not be a qualified trainer according to the national board or according to the DNB thing. But I think that because there are fewer number of palliative care trainers, even people who are not in the government sector or in these sectors, they should be able to be trained, they should be able to become trainers.
Absolutely
so though
right.
we are doing it informally, it's not a formal recognition of training that we provide.
Absolutely right. I think a couple of points. Even in Ayushman Bharat, there is, we have just put the application forward, giving them almost 25 choices where the palliative care package should be there. So that is under consideration. But there are still 5 or 6 packages which is under different headings. So if you search it, you'll be able to find them and you can take advantage of those things. For example, say intrathecal implants and all those things. So they have a provision of it. And as Madam Ideas, I think we should collaborate with NGOs. The AIMS New Delhi has collaboration with 2 NGOs, Can Kids and Can Support. So Can Support is a big organization, has spreading more over the northern India part of it. They provide us home care. So we have a close collaboration. Where we want home care, we inform them. Where they want hospital admission, they inform us. So we are working in a close collaboration, especially Can Kids for the pediatric patients. They provide them, once they are with us, if they want to stay, if they are coming from different places, they can stay them with free food and all the things, with free drugs also. So I think collaboration with NGOs is always most welcome. And there are a couple of them which are working good.
Yeah, hi, sir. My name is Dr. Chiranjit Reddy, and I practice as a hospitalist in US, and I recently moved back to Warangal. I set up a palliative center myself with the 10 beds, and just to share my experience, yes, you're true. Once we go approach the patient, explain that, this could be a palliative or hospice condition rather than trying to treat it, the acceptance is good. So right now, as we speak, we just started about 3 months ago, and our occupancy is almost 70%. We have 7 patients with us. So it's a very good experience trying to put forth the palliative center. And one thing I have noticed, I don't know if somebody can correct me, is that the medications. I feel there's a lot of shortage of medications. I mean, in US, we have so many options. Maybe the medication and the route how you give it, POs, intrathecal, nasal, oral. So that I see a lot of shortage here, as well as the medications itself. Here, all I see is morphine, as well as fentanyl patches. So correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't find any other methadone. Okay.
With regards to the availability of opiates, government has changed the NDPS Act recently, a couple of years back, and the system has been made more user-friendly. Obviously, any drug has to be under rules and regulation to prevent its misuse, as we have seen in the Western countries, especially the America, where the opiate endemic and epidemic was being considered. So that's why we have to follow the norms. But the NDPS Act has made the procurement, licensing, and the storage of the opiates very simpler. Somebody has to take a responsibility. Like our head of the department is the also responsible for any misuse. We are keeping a record of everything, but the drug is available. So morphine, which is one of the commonest drugs which we are using for oncology setting in advanced cancer setting, it's easily available. Only thing is the creating awareness among professionals. So we usually allow observership for 10 days. People are coming from various centers. We explain them how to procure it, what are the procedures, and then they can apply. And AIIMS New Delhi is always in a lead talking with the drug controller. And every time a good reassurance from drug controller and Ministry of Health is always being given, so that there is no obstruction or no undue no obstruction by the inspectors which issues the licenses. So the system has become very, very user-friendly. But yes, the physician has to get that awareness that they have to procure the drug, dispense the drug, and take its responsibility.
Even the pharmacies are difficult to carry. So if you look at how many pharmacies are there in Hyderabad, how many carry morphine? 2.
So
Or
I
maybe
think
5.
the solution to
MNJ is there.
In the small.
In the
smaller
pharmacies, outpatient, I mean.
So in the pharmacy, it's difficult to get it.
But a patient can directly procure it from a distributor if it is prescribed by a doctor. They can get it through the double prescription, what the regulatory procedure. You can get it directly from a distributor. But pharmacies, to stock, they need lots of licenses, so they don't stock.
There is an accessibility problem, so which is not accessible as an outpatient. If you write a prescription for fentanyl patch,
yeah, they'll get it.
They
can get it. If I don't,
only few pharmacies they have to go get a run around.
They may get it in Apollo pharmacy. In the hospital pharmacies, they may be able to get it.
So actually what is happening is, the crux of the thing is, the licensing has become simpler. There's no confusion about it. Only thing is, the financially or the commercially, there is no much profit to the commercial agency. Morphine will not give
The regulations and the storage and the record keeping. When I spoke to pharmacists here, they said, why don't you carry? They said, well, it's a big hassle for us.
Exactly.
So it's not, if for a population of this size city of probably 60 lakhs or 70 lakhs or even more, more than that. So that's like, we need more access.
Absolutely.
More medications, as you said, more access to the medication.
Absolutely.
We're only addressing one part of the palliative care and hospices, pain medication. We are in the infancy. We need to improve on that. I remember even Dr. Paulet's team and your team took care of my dad at home. They were coming in a Maruti van, one MBBS doctor, one social worker,
and a nurse.
And 250 homes they visit.
In a month.
And it's free.
And
then they were giving morphine because they don't have much morphine in their hands, and it has to be given at home. So that was a big challenge, which made me go into palliative care and hospice. And where the city I came from, the population is 20 lakhs. Imagine how many hospices are there in my cities? 400. How many hospices are there in Hyderabad? 2, 3, maybe 2, I'm thinking, 2.5.
Prominently 2. One is ours and the other is Persh probably. And there are few small ones which are there, which hardly have patients, I think. And they're not very... Ours is an NGO, Pain Relief and Palliative Care Society. And we run a hospice by the name Kumudini Devi Palliative Care Center. And actually the government of Telangana, we have helped the government of Telangana start these palliative care centers in each district of Telangana. They are present, at least at present, the program is there in about 15, 16, 17 districts, but the plan is to extend to all the districts of Telangana. So morphine is available at all these district centers. So they have been, people earlier they used to come from all the distant districts to Hyderabad to procure morphine. But now it is available at their district center. So they don't have to travel all the way to Hyderabad. This is, this is very unique to Telangana. It's not there in all the states, but this is a unique program of the Telangana government. which we helped them start. They have carried, they have taken it on. The government is doing it. Yes, we are all from the same organization. Yeah. Yes, yes, yes. We have.
And there are a lot of pharmaceutical companies coming with fentanyl patches and other things, and they're coming up with morphine also. Once they know that if a specialist is prescribing, they will get hold of him and they will see that their stocks are get sold, because there is a pharma company involved, so they know how to sell their products. At least presently, not much problem.
Availability has improved over the last couple of years after the change in the NDPS Act. Yeah.
The payer system is also very important. In US, the Medicare pays for all these hospice patients. So that's why it's a lucrative business in the US. And there are hundreds of hospices in each city, whereas here we have a handful of them. So it's that determines, the number of facilities we have. But it's a nice discussion. I just wanted to talk about palliative care in the United States. I'm a medical oncologist. We do a little bit of palliative care. It's kind of built in to oncology practice in the US, but palliative care itself is a specialty, as you all know. So let me skip a lot of slides here because Dr. Garg made my job a lot easier. So palliate, means to lessen or mitigate without curing, but the definition is changing because palliative care is being used even with curative treatments. So on parallel with curative treatments, especially in oncology. So the term was first coined in 1974 by Dr. Balfour Mount. And pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. So this is a typical scenario we run into as oncologists. 64-year-old lady with recently diagnosed non-small cell lung cancer, stage 4, having pain and dyspnea, and she will be starting concurrent chemoradiation in a few days. And what are your recommendations? And we call palliative care, typically. So what is palliative care? Already Dr. Garg mentioned. A lot of people think, palliative care and hospice are same, but they are not. Palliative care is a continuous process, and the hospice is part of palliative care at the end of life care type things. So, and in the US, we have a team approach where doctors, nurse practitioners, PAs, nurses, and social workers form a team, and they all treat the patients together. Typically, we are using a lot of nurse practitioners there because they are called physician extenders or physician assistants, and they run the show pretty much, and they're very good at what they do. So that is actually less expense when compared to the actual physicians. So that's what we do in the US. So let me go to the next one. This was shown by Dr. Garg already, and we talked about this. And this is the palliative care, hospice, and comfort care only, how they all kind of play together. And this was mentioned just before. And I just want to mention a study. It's a lung cancer study. Stage 4 patients were given the palliative care option in the beginning. Whoever used palliative care in the beginning of their diagnosis, they did much better. Their survival was 4 months better. They used the same treatment, but introducing palliative care in the beginning actually not only improved their quality of life, but it also improved their survival by about 4 months. And no other combination of chemotherapy has improved that much in those days. This was about 10 years ago. Now we have immunotherapies, targeted therapies. It's kind of totally different situation now. So, American Society of Clinical Oncology recommends palliative care be integrated early in cancer patients based on that study. So approximately 90 million Americans are living with serious illnesses, and this number will be doubled over the next 25 years with the aging population. 6 million people in the United States could benefit from palliative care, and about 60% of hospitals who have 50 or more beds have a palliative care team or program. So approximately 68% of Medicare costs are related to people with 4 or more chronic conditions, which is a typical palliative care patient. So this is what we see in the US. about 38.47%, 39% almost, are cardiovascular disease patients. This is another misconception people have. Only cancer patients use palliative care, but that's not true. It's only part of it. 34% only are cancer patients in 100%. So, and the next is chronic obstructive pulmonary diseases, then HIV, AIDS. Dr. Bayani sees those patients. He's an ID specialist, followed by diabetes, chronic kidney disease, and so forth. So this is an interesting slide, and here you see the growth of palliative care programs in the US. In 2000, year 2000, there were only 658 programs, but now we have close to 2,000. So the number actually tripled in the last 15 years or so. And these are all the statistics based on the number of beds and the palliative care program percentage. And if they have more than 300 beds, almost every hospital has a palliative care. So if they have more than 50 beds, then there is 60% of them have palliative care program. So if palliative care is utilized properly, the total savings could be $6 billion per year in the United States. In terms of rupees, it is about 45,000 crores. So definitely palliative care has a role to save money in the healthcare system. So we talked about the growth. More than 2,000 hospitals in the US have this palliative care team. And there was a poll actually in 2011, about 10, 11 years ago. Most of them actually wanted palliative care for their family or for their hospital, things like that. So that's what that slide says. So what about the training programs in the US? Because there's always, we discussed about, a few minutes ago that we don't have enough training positions in India. So we have a 1-year fellowship, typically, after internal medicine residency or family practice. And 409 positions are offered every year. And 174 programs are present there, which offer these positions. And 348 positions are filled and 61 are unfilled. And again, the statistics, 616 US MD graduates and DO graduates and all that. But anyway, so definitely it's much more matured in the US than in India. Definitely there is more room for training programs and palliative care programs in the hospitals and things like that. So, and if you have any questions, please ask me. I think that's my last slide. Thank you.
Anupama, they have trains need to go. So Anupama will also students. Okay.
So now looks like we don't have any time for the questions, and Dr. Anupama Godimukula is going to announce the winners, the student winners. I'll be here. I'll be available if you have any questions. But Dr. Anupama Godimukula will be announcing the winners and among medical students who actually did poster presentations earlier today. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Rakesh Garg and Dr. Katula and Dr. Gunuganti and Dr. Lokesh Idara. Sorry for the interruption. The students have to leave. They have to catch up a train. So today, it's really a very satisfying day, and I think everyone had some agenda to present today, and I think we all achieved something. But the biggest achievement is for the students, medical students who came all over from India. They participated in abstracts and case presentations, and there is medical quiz tomorrow as well. A total of 1,500 medical students submitted their abstracts, or so the participation was really excellent. I think we should give them a big hand. The enthusiasm and the motivation and participation and the leadership of GAMES Global Association of Indian Medical Students, we truly appreciate your efforts. And I'm going to announce the prizes, the winners, and I'll call all of you by name, and you all come on the stage. And I want all the judges on the stage as well. Today's judges are Dr. Rakesh Sahai, Dr. Bhavani, Dr. You have the name? Dr. Kumar Bilani, Dr. Prabhakar Sharma, Dr. Shubhakar Kandi, Dr. Harsha Lakshmi Tirunagari. So we had 6 judges who did a very good, fantastic job, and give them a big applaud because they have done wonderful job actually. They were very satisfied that the abstracts were really good. So the quality of abstracts was really good. That's what the feedback I got from the judges. So they had tough time to give even the prizes, to select the prizes. So let me call the winners of the abstract presentations. All the abstracts are in the souvenir books actually. If you want to look, you can look at them later. Let me announce. Yes, yeah, these are research, right? Okay. The research presentations, the first prize had to be given to two students. They had tough time to judge them, so they were two extremely good. So 2 students have got first prize. Rutvik S. Nivaragi. And the first prize goes to Sirish Rao. Congratulations, both of you. Keep up your... so one day we'll see them as professors of AIMS or at Harvard, you know. So thank you and congratulations. The second joint prize, again, it's two students got it. Yash Kamath and Jay Prakash Gurav. So congratulations to both of you getting the second prize. And so the rest of all are very good presentations. So everyone, a few of them got, there's no third, fourth, 5, but there's a lot of those students. I'll call them by name, but please come on the stage. Harsh Jain. I wish I know their medical college name. Okay, we'll do that. Perabatula Chinmaya Shreya. LV Simhachalam Kuti Kuppala. Sri Harsha Boppana. Ayman Parveen Afsar. Bhavya Pahwa. Mamta Jadhav. Sai Kiran Kuchana. Meemansa Jindal. Kili Keshavi. Kritika Manta. Devan Srivastava. Rohit Yadlapalli. Okay, give them a big claps. Excellent work, and we'll take one picture with them. They all have train to catch, so they are rushing. So, case presentation. Okay, let's go to the next one also, case presentations. Why don't we just finish one picture and we go to the next prize winners announcement. So let me announce, you can stay back. Let me announce the next ones are Teja Sureddy. Joint first prize. Again, first prize is given to 2 students. Samat S. Habu. Congratulations to both of you for sharing the first prize. And next one is the second, again joint second prize, Sri Lakshmi N. Sri Lakshmi, Geetika Krishnan. So congratulations, Geetika and Sri Lakshmi. And then honoris causa, four of those. LV Simhachalam Kutikapalli, Manukonda Garata Reddy, Mevin, Kirtika Vijay Kumar, all right, so they're not here, looks like, and this is a group of highly successful professors, future professors. Congratulations and keep up your good work and continue, and I wish you all very good luck to get into best PG, whatever your goals are, and I know you came all over from the India, but if you want to introduce quickly from which medical college you are all from, we start from there, from you.
This is Samartha Sabbu, final year student from Bangalore Medical College and Research Institute, Bengaluru.
This is Tejas Sureddy. I'm from Rangraya Medical College, Kakinada, and I'm an intern.
Hello, my name is Devang Srivastav. I am from Kakatiya Medical College, currently in final year part 1.
Rohit, third year medical student from Binamani Siddhartha.
Keshavi Killi, third year medical student from Andhra Medical College, Vishakhapatnam.
Manikrutika Manta, third year medical student from Rangraya Medical College, Kakinada.
Sai Kiran Kochana, third year medical student from Kakatiya Medical College, Warangal.
This is Mimansa Jindal from University College of Medical Sciences, Delhi.
This is Mamta Chadav from Jawaharlal Nehru Medical College, Maharashtra.
I'm Bhavya from University College of Medical Sciences, second year.
I am Aman, third year medical student at Maulana Azad Medical College, New Delhi.
Hello, this is Bopana Sriharsha, Great Eastern Medical School and Hospital, GEMS, Srikakulam.
Hello, this is LV Simhachalam Kudikupala. I am an intern at Conisum Institute of Medical Sciences, Amlapuram, Andhra Pradesh.
Arjun, final year MBBS student from ESIC Medical College, Faridabad, Haryana.
I am Rutvik S. Nivargi. I am final year medical student from Bangalore Medical College and Research Institute.
Hello, I am medical cadet Jaiprakash Gurav. I am second year medical student from Armed Forces Medical College, Pune.
Hello all, this is Sri Lakshmi MN from Bangalore Medical College and Research Institute, third year medico.
Hello, this is Shirish Rao from St. GS Medical College and KM Hospital, Mumbai.
Hello, I'm Yash Kamath, third year medical student from St. GS Medical College, Mumbai.
Hello everyone, this is Shreya from Government Medical College, Srikakulam. I thank everyone for giving us this opportunity.
Yeah, I would like to take 2 minutes to thank each and everyone regarding behind this successful research presentation competition. First of all, I would like to extend my sincere thanks to American Association of Physicians of Indian Origin for their support and encouraging the noble cause for these students. So I would like to thank Dr. Anupama ma'am, Dr. Lokesh Shedara sir and other AAP officials for their support and encouragement to the students. Also, I would like to extend my heartfelt thanks to our respectful judges, Dr. Rakesh Sahai sir, Dr. Kumar Balani sir, Dr. Prabhakar Sharma sir, Dr. Bhavani K ma'am, Dr. Sudhakar K sir, and Dr. Lakshmi ma'am for their continuous effort and evaluating all the abstracts and encouraging the all winners. All winners.
So the sponsor, grand sponsor actually for the abstracts and case presentation is Dr. Nikhil Bayani. If he's here, Dr. Nikhil Bayani, I want to Nikhil, I would like you to say something, a few words. Dr. Nikhil Bayani is an infectious diseases specialist from Dallas, Texas.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. It was a pleasure to be sponsoring the medical student research and case presentations. I just briefly walked by some of the abstracts, saw some of the cases. These are some really outstanding students and interns, and as Dr. Godamakula said, that really they're going to achieve well and they're going to be professors at some well-known institutions either here in India or in the United States, and we look forward to collaborating with you guys in the future, and best of luck and thank you so much.
And tomorrow, actually, much more exciting, there's medical quiz, and there are 4 teams participating. First year, second year, third year, and fourth year medical students. And so 16 students will be participating. Very exciting tomorrow. Please cheer up, and it'll be a very exciting one. Thank you so much.
Next, we did not do this thing here. So we didn't get a chance to do the diabetes care in India challenges and solutions. The panel discussion that was supposed to happen in Vega has been moved to Constellation. So please stay back. We'll do that now. So for that, I would like to invite Dr. Shyam Kalvalapalli, who's an endocrinologist in Hyderabad and also founder for Idea Clinics, to carry on the proceedings for this discussion. Yeah, he can invite. Sure. Oh yeah, you go.
So good evening to all of you. Thank you to RP for giving us this platform to discuss about diabetes care India challenges and solutions. To have this discussion, we have a very eminent panel. I would like to invite Professor Sudhakar Rao. He's former professor of endocrinology at Gandhi Medical College, and he's currently president of Idea Clinics. I would invite him to join on the stage. Can you run the next slide? I'm Dr. Rakesh Sahai. I'm professor and head of Department of Endocrinology at Osmania Medical College in Hyderabad, and I would also be on the panel. I would next slide. I would invite Dr. Vasant Kumar, Dr. Sudhakar Rao. As I introduced, he's the former professor and head of Department of Endocrinology at Osmania Gandhi Medical College, and he is also the president of RSSDI, former president of RSSDI. Now we have the current president of RSSDI, Dr. Vasant Kumar, who is a senior consultant in the Department of Internal Medicine at Apollo Hospital, and he's also interested in geriatrics, and he is also the founder and president of DAYS Society, which is a society which is supporting the cause of type 1 diabetes. And he has also been very active in the Rotary. He has been past president of the Rotary Club of Jubilee Hills, Hyderabad during the period 2012 to 13. And we also have Dr. Manisha Sahai, who's professor and head of Department of Nephrology at Osmania General Hospital in Hyderabad. She is also the editor-in-chief of the Indian Journal of Transplantation. She has been the council member of the International Society of Nephrology and has been vice president of the Indian Society of Nephrology. Then we have Dr. Shyam Kalvalapalli, who's the founder of Idea Clinics, a pan-India preventive healthcare clinic, which he has trained in the UK and has worked in the NHS. He has worked at Oxford, Cambridge, Imperial College, and Manchester University in UK. He has also had a certificate course in enhanced patient care from the IIM Hyderabad. So I would like to start off the discussion by inviting Dr. Sham to give a broad overview about diabetes in India, and then we'll have a panel discussion from the other participants. And I also like to invite Dr. Sujit Punnam, who's a very eminent cardiologist who has been, who is also the chairman of this conference from the API side in the US. He is an interventional cardiologist at California, and I would like him to also join the panel discussion to have his perspectives on this. And over to Dr. Sham to give a brief overview, then we go on to the discussion.
Good evening. Thank you for the API team asking Indian perspective on diabetes. We have eminent panel. I would like to just briefly present few slides looking at the present scenario in Indian healthcare in terms of diabetes care. After which, we'll ask our panel and our audience some of the questions that we encounter day in and day out as to how India can establish its own preventive health care, on a global platform, how we can establish our healthcare systems so that we can match up to the Western standards. Next slide. So, So, a brief introduction. Diabetes, as we can see, the basically rural and urban, it's spreading quite significantly. The red color is high prevalence in double digits. As you can see, southern states have become extremely diabetic, even in the rural population. So this is alarming. So, lower socioeconomic strata also are getting inflicted by diabetes. And if you see this slide, which is looking at different cities of India, as you can see, Hyderabad, for some surprise, has stood out as one of the major cities with high prevalence of diabetes. Sometimes it's referred to as diabetes capital. So this is worrying. And as I was alluding to earlier, the southern states, the prevalence of diabetes is much higher. And next comes the eastern states, and third, west and north. So South India, for some reason, probably rice eating or genetically we are, I don't know, whatever, the prevalence of diabetes is rising significantly compared to north or west. Even East India, there is increased prevalence of diabetes. And if you look at different countries, like a huge section of our Indian population in the present generation, they are immigrating out. We are a nation with highest immigration rates across the globe. And if you see within the Indian community living abroad, the prevalence of diabetes compared to the native population is significantly higher. So genetically and lifestyle wise, we are prone for diabetes. And it's not just the prevalence. We are getting diabetes at a younger age and at lower BMIs. When we worked abroad, our age profile of our patients used to be 50 plus. Now most of our clinics, the patient profile are in their 20s and 30s. The problem is when youth of India are inflicted with diabetes and other non-communicable diseases, a portion of them might be prone for complications. So the worrying thing is by the time they hit their 40s and 50s, a section of them might end up with complications, whether it's cardiac, kidney, retinopathy, or anything else. So this is a burden which we are faced to address today so that we take appropriate measures to counter this. So the next big worry is it's not just the low BMI and young population, it's lower socioeconomic strata population as well are getting diabetes, which is, unfortunate. And not just the prevalence and age group, we are more prone for cardiac disease. We are 3 to 4 times high risk. And so is the case of nephropathy and The only respite is peripheral vascular disease is little less, and so is retinopathy. So in a way, diabetic population in India, we behave little different to the Western counterparts. And there are various reasons, whether it's environmental reasons, genetic reasons, lifestyle, and all that stuff. One of the big factors is our diet. So unfortunately, Indian diet, almost 70% of our energy intake comes through carbs, that too simple carbs. This is something we need to quickly handle across all sections of our population. And it's not just diabetes. Our population is prone for dyslipidemias. A big chunk of our patients have hypertension, which is unrecognized. This is another worry. And unfortunately, our healthcare system is still largely, not organized. We have public sector, private sector. Though we are a big country with 1.3 billion population, what happens in Chennai, Mumbai doesn't know. What happens in Kolkata, Bangalore doesn't know. We behave as if we are 10 different countries. Whilst in the European Union, all the countries stick together, come with, we are completely opposite. We are a huge country, but we behave as if we are different countries. This is not helping our healthcare system. And as I was telling, healthcare, there's a big confusion. Historically, healthcare used to be a welfare event by the government agencies. Now, the private sector has taken over. So there is a conflict who should own the healthcare in India. Should it remain in the domain of public sector or private sector? There are three strata of population: the poor, the middle class, and the elite. The poor want to be, provided with low cost or free healthcare. The middle class would expect standards of care matching the Western standards. So there is a dilemma as to how we can, especially we don't have insurance in India, so there is a lot of confusion in terms of deciding medications or whatever. So this is another big worry we are facing. And this low doctor population. Again, this may be skewed little bit because the lower strata of our population, they need proper nutrition rather than, doctors. But whatever it is, doctor population ratio is a concern. It's skewed towards urban cities and as compared to countryside. So this is another big worry. So we'll stop here, and then now I will take you through some of the questions. I want involvement of the delegates as well. Some of the, if you can put your thoughts, we will then try and see what solutions we can bring forward. So do we have mics here for the audience and panel? So first lot of questions, I think it's open to all, both with the panel members and the delegates. Why diabetes is a concern for Indians? How is diabetes different in Indians? How are the complications of diabetes in Indians? And what is the situation in rural versus cities? So just brainstorm some of the, there's few people in the audience as well. If you can pass on some mics. Let's start with if any of you can take why diabetes is a concern for Indians.
Okay, good evening, friends. I think Dr. Sham has already introduced us this very important topic on diabetes in India. So why diabetes is a concern for India? Some of his slides did show that it's definitely a concern for Indians, South Asians as such, because diabetes, you see it much younger in Indians. By the time you see them, they already have complications. So the complication rates are higher, they are younger, they are more prone for many problems. And the other thing is there is what is called a dual disease burden in this country. As he has also mentioned, the diabetes is seen more often amongst the poor people, especially the urban poor, who also have infectious diseases. So that's how it's a big concern for Indians. Somebody else can address how is diabetes different in Indians?
Yeah, I think Sham has very clearly highlighted the fact that we have a diabetes which is starting off early And the second thing is that what we see is that in the West, you see a long period of pre-diabetes before people are diagnosed to have diabetes. They are picked up during that phase, and preventive measures can be sort of advocated at that point of time. But what we see in India is that we have a very rapid progression from pre-diabetes to diabetes. People almost progress very rapidly. Within a few months, you find them those who are pre-diabetic and those who are most of the time what happens is that the people with pre-diabetes are not given that much of importance, or rather they are not given that much of education which is required at that point of time, because diabetes can be preventable. And we see that the next visit they come to you, they already have very high sugars and they have developed diabetes, and that's one of the important changes. Differences from what we see in the Western world. And the other important thing that we see is that we develop diabetes at a lower BMI. We tend to have more of insulin deficiency, and those are issues that again need to be addressed, and that we need to tackle that effectively.
Yeah, can I? Yeah, please. I think really diabetes is a major concern for India. India is the capital for diabetes. Not only that, India has a major burden of tuberculosis. 1/4 of the global TB burden is in India. So there is a strong association between tuberculosis and diabetes. Thinking this, the National TB Elimination Program has started a program called bidirectional screening. So all the tuberculosis patients should be screened for diabetes in their clinics. And similarly, we are asking the endocrinologists, the diabetes patients, to screen for tuberculosis.
And do you use chest X-ray or something else to screen?
I think you.
What do you recommend? Recommend a chest X-ray or?
You just find out whether the presumptive symptoms are there. If there is a sputum there, you just sputum. Otherwise, now they included chest X-ray in the diagnostic algorithm. Previously, only sputum is there. So we are asking every diabetic patient to go for a chest X-ray and see if there is a lesion.
And the important message that Dr. Subhakar is highlighting is that every patient with tuberculosis should also be screened for diabetes, because we have several data from different sources showing us that all patients with tuberculosis have a very high risk of developing diabetes.
Yeah, in fact, we have presented our data in the recent journal, the diabetes and tuberculosis, how they differ in sputum conversion, outcomes, treatment outcomes. Major things are outcomes will be impacted. So we are screening as a tuberculosis specialist, you are screening every case by default for diabetes, asking for a fasting and post-lunch and also HbA1c.
How prevalent is diabetes in your tuberculosis patients? 50-50?
15% of our tuberculosis patients have coexisting diabetes based on our data.
Coming to complications, Dr. Manisha and Dr. Sujit, you can talk about Indian community in the West in terms of how they behave differently.
So, good evening, everyone. So, everybody else is talking about diabetes. So, I would say that we take diabetes for granted. Many of us are there in the hall, 100 of us. I'm sure 20 at least are diabetics. If not us, our family members are diabetics. So, it's a way of life in old age in India. This should change. We should not only preach but follow ourselves, and we should change our diet, lifestyle in India. So that is one thing about diabetes. Now coming to the poor nephrologist. When the awareness about diabetes itself is so low, awareness about kidney disease, forget about it. People think kidney disease is rare. It's not rare. Diabetes, Dr. Sham has shown around 16%. Do you know how common kidney disease is in India? About the same. It's around 16-17%. So, but we don't know. And diabetics, how many have kidney disease? Around 50% of diabetics have diabetic kidney disease. And how is it different from the West? In the West, they know it early, because all diabetics from the day of diagnosis of diabetes are tested with two tests, creatinine GFR and urine protein or urine albumin, two tests, CUE and creatinine, that's it. And in India, never tested. We ask patients in the clinic, diabetes for how long? Ma'am, 20 years. BP, how long? 10 years. Was creatinine done any time? What is that, madam? It is never ever done. So this message, if it goes across all diabetics, type 2 diabetes from day one, test for kidney problem, we'll save a lot of patients going on dialysis and transplant. So that's very important. And diabetes in the early stages, diabetic nephropathy is completely asymptomatic. No swelling, no decrease in urine output. So people think, I'm not having swelling, no decrease in urine output. So I may not be having a kidney problem. That's wrong. Diabetes nephropathy is asymptomatic. You have to screen for it if you want to diagnose it early, because then you can prevent it. So this is one of the differences from the West. Their patients do not crash land into a dialysis unit. Our patients do. They come to us when they are already beyond stage of any help. They come in the stage of dialysis or transplant with a creatinine of 10, with a good urine output, and they don't believe us when we say that your kidneys have already gone to the last stage. So this one thing is very different. We have patients, we are having even younger patients developing diabetic nephropathy. And do you believe every year 2 lakh Indians, they need dialysis or kidney transplant? The average Indian income is 2,000 rupees per month. Cost of transplant is 5 lakhs minimum. And dialysis is 30,000 rupees per month, lifelong. Do you think India can afford the treatment of diabetic nephropathy? No. Prevention is important. And this does not happen in India. It happens to a large extent in the West. So these two things are very different: late diagnosis and no effort at prevention. So I think this message goes across as far as how diabetic complications in India are different. I think awareness is lacking. We have to pick it up early and prevent early. So that's what my message would be.
We can see how passionate she is about protecting her kidneys. Next,
Not her kidneys. You stand corrected. Everyone's kidneys. Yeah.
Sir.
I mean nephrology.
Sir, as a surgeon, I see many cases of diabetic cellulitis. So many people come with an altered sensation of their lower limbs, and unless we do a Doppler study, they are landing in cellulitis and loss of toes or loss of limbs also. So Doppler study also should be made of along with the other investigations of diabetes.
Yeah, most of you might be aware of a study called Framingham Heart Study, right? We used to read that in pathology. That's where we know that, when we look at the coronary artery disease, so most of the people, cardiovascular disease is the highest mortality right now, right? So the way we know about CAD and the risk factors is by Framingham Heart Study. That is where we know that high blood pressure, diabetes, smoking, family history of CAD is all the risk factors for coronary artery disease. So now, Dr. Sham's question was, what's happening to the Indians moving into the United States or the Western world? That we know from a recent study. It's not recent, but in the last few years, we're getting data, more and more data. Just like a Framingham Heart Study, there's a group of Indian Americans who started a study called MASALA. It's a very good acronym for a study because Indians are known for their masala, right? So what they did is the people who are Indians, immigrated to United States and living there for a long time from all over the country. And I think they pulled a cohort of about 3,000 patients. And then they started following them longitudinally over a period of 10 years, 15 years. See what's happening. Surprising thing is, Indians in America are having a lot more disease burden compared to the Caucasians. We used to think that Caucasians have a higher incidence of coronary artery disease, but Indians beat them hands down. Why is that? So the one, and then other thing is, they looked at what's happening to the diet of people, Indians coming into the United States. There are a lot of people in that subset who are vegetarian, right? So we think that non-meat eating people, meat eating people have higher incidence of heart disease. That's not true. The Masala study says that there is no difference between a vegetarian and a non-vegetarian people. So what is happening to the vegetarian people? They're compensating for the lack of protein in other forms, like they're eating higher sugars, higher fat content, and things like that. So lack of exercise is still shown as a common risk factor in Framingham Heart Study in Masala, but the diet is playing a huge role. Wherever we are, Indians, wherever we are, diet is the number one culprit. And I'm an interventional cardiologist. Whenever we go and do an angiogram, there's blockage in the artery. LAD, the front LAD, right? The front left anterior descending artery, the front coronary artery. There is a dictum that your LAD can never be less than 3.5 millimeters in the proximal portion. When it comes to a diabetic, it's about 3. It becomes automatically smaller. And when it comes to Indians, it's even smaller. So I get to review this coronary angiogram from a lot of our friends, families, and relatives and all that. They have an angiogram done in Hyderabad or Warangal somewhere, and they send the angiograms in WhatsApp. And you look at the starking thing is, the coronary vessels are like so much tinier than what we are used to. And sure enough, you ask them, are you diabetic? Yeah, I've been diabetic for 4 years. My bet is they've been diabetic for 10 years, diagnosed maybe 4 or 5 years later. And API has been doing the Rural Health Initiative for screenings, right? So we are going to get some data that we can mine on. And we are seeing a significantly higher population of the people with CKD, and there's no history of diabetes. And I'm sure it is because of diabetic nephropathy. So diabetes causes problems with end organ damage, retinopathy, coronary disease, myocardial infarctions, strokes, renal failure, and peripheral arterial disease, and things like that. So diabetes don't kill people. It's the cardiovascular disease that kills the people, right? So there's a very good interrelation between an endocrinologist and a cardiologist. Yeah.
Thank you. Dr. Sudhakar, sir, if you can, you have worked extensively in the rural side, countryside. How do you compare, how should healthcare be serviced in rural side, countryside?
Yeah, rural side definitely differs from cities, especially if you compare Hyderabad and our villages, especially Telangana only. It is lesser side compared to the city. Incidence or prevalence, whatever it is on lesser side. But they are all thin, average built, not obese persons. They are laborers and the middle class people. And usually it around 4 to 7% around it is there. And depending on the modernization of that village. So it is mainly regarding management and how this government is taking over, I will tell later when the treatment part. But this is more of impaired GTT also will be there in the rural side. But now government has taken up a program, NCD program, non-communicable diseases, how to prevent and all these, the heart, even cancer and all those. Under that, diabetes and hypertension also comes that. So that government is taking over, I will tell later. And this is the only thing we want to tell you.
I think just to add to that, I think there's a very significant change which is happening over the years. And even in the rural communities, you find increasing prevalence because the lifestyle is changing. I mean, all of you who have gone to the rural areas would agree that, there is a typical rural area doesn't exist now. I mean, the changing eating habits have percolated down to the very remote villages also. And the lack of physical activities there is changing there also. The type of physical activity is changing. So I think the prevalence there also is gradually changing. And I think the worst hit are the urban poor are the ones who are worst hit because their lifestyle has changed significantly, and adopting a healthy eating habit is pretty expensive, and I think that's the reason why the prevalence is increasing in this population. So that's the changing scenario over the last few years, I would say.
Yeah, madam.
Hi, I'm Dr. Kiran Maya. I'm a practicing family physician and a diabetologist. I just need to say my perspective of what is different in treating Indians, diabetes. I practiced in UK for 12 years. So fortunately, there everything is free. And unfortunately, here everything has to be bought. And I think here in India, for Indians, buying is the problem. Okay, it's not the complications which they land up to, it's because they do not take the medications every month. Buying is a huge issue. I wish the government can give everything free here as well. Then I'm happy to prescribe GLP-1 analogs as they mention in ADA guidelines as the first line. I cannot do that here. So unfortunately, finance and pharma driving is the problem here in India.
Yeah.
I think Dr. Kiran has addressed an important point while addressing the issues, diabetes issues amongst the Indians. But you need to find for these. It's simply not that you will follow a Western guideline and manage our Indian populations. As you said, they can't afford the management and they have to pay the money from their pocket and they don't come, compliance rates are less, they don't come to so often. So you need to individualize the management. You still have good, one is the lifestyle modification is still very, very important, which is always undermined by the patient as well as we doctors. That's one. So that means healthy eating habit. And second thing is, we still have a couple of drugs which work wonders. One of them is metformin, the other is sulfonylureas, which are still cheap. Government of India still gives both these drugs in most of the public health centers. Only sulfonylureas is one has to be aware of how to use them, use small doses, avoid them, the patient is not eating. And then finally, the oral gliptins are also affordable now. Thanks to, some of our American friends should know that the drugs are much cheaper in India. Generics are available. You have, which is available for 5 rupees each tablet. We use it as a third line of drug. Then of course, we even have SGLT2 inhibitors who are right now available when it became off patent. You will be surprised to know that they cost less than 10. But a lot of Indians still do not afford it. So the best thing is lifestyle modification, metformin and one of the sulfonylureas, and call them once in a review. The job is done by and large to 80% of the patients.
I agree, sir. Completely agree with your approach, but that's what we to do in India. But I think when with the HbA1c more than 9 or something, it becomes evident that we have to go for medications, and I think that's where the thing comes. After 3 more medications, having just adds again.
Expensive analog.
No, analog.
Very expensive.
So added to what Dr. Kiran pointed out, you have brought out a valid point. The best thing is to control diabetes, diagnose and control it. But the problem, doctors have to struggle with the cost of drugs, one thing. So stick to basics, as Dr. Vasan said. Lifestyle diet, we keep on telling, practice what you preach and tell them. So that's important. Now my daughter, I was telling her that why don't you take healthy snack or healthy food at your workplace? She's telling, Mummy, burger is cheaper than the salad. So, I couldn't answer her. That should close all the food joints and all that. We advertise, we talk a lot, but we don't practice. So how many of us filled our plate half with the salad? None. So a carbohydrate. So we have to change, I think, so that we can change. The other okay, I know that. Sir said that he did it. So that's important. Other important thing is we have to battle the alternate systems of medicines as well. Indian patients, we'll start them on drugs, somebody counsels them, they say, no, my sugar is controlled, BP is fine, stopped everything. HbA1c 12, 13, very common in India. So we have our own set of problems and we have to have our own solutions, and we are doing a good job of it. We learn from the guidelines, but we adapt to our situation and do the best we can. So I think Indians are very good at that. We are all working towards it, and it's not easy to manage 1.2 billion people. So it's not. And we, as you rightly pointed out, we stick to the basics, lifestyle, diet, and the basic drugs, and screen for complications. I'm not telling that, we should do expensive tests, but basic tests to detect the complications early, because India can't afford the management of diabetic kidney disease. We were very happy when government gave us machines. We were very happy. Now we have unit of 35 machines, and we are doing 5 shifts dialysis, but more and more patients are waiting. We have realized that purchasing machines, doing transplant, end-stage care is not important in India. Prevention is important. We should focus on that. So that's important. Yes, and we have to find a local affordable solution, as you said. Yes.
So hi, I am, as you all know, my name is Meher Medavaram, and I'm a practicing primary care physician for the past 40 years. Okay. So when I listen to, I know it's totally different in terms of patients in rural India as opposed to even in rural America and how we get. So just one thing about the medications, even in America, patients cannot afford to have SGLTs or GLPs because the cost is about $400 to $500 a month. So it's not affordable even for a lot of Americans. So we also make a lot of changes, and still it is metformin is a wonder drug, to the max, and then sulfonylurea, and of course, like I said, insulin and stuff. Now, I just wanted to touch base on the preventive care, which is the biggest, for me, that's a mantra. In our practice, first, you just start with the weight. As you see the weight, if the BMI is over 30, between 30 to 35 BMI, you calculate and see. All of them definitely needs to have a hemoglobin A1C done. It's not expensive. Even GTT, of course you do, but it takes time for the patient. So just do the fasting sugar and hemoglobin A1C. And like you said, and once, if the hemoglobin A1C more than 6.4, we definitely do microalbumin for urine, have everybody go for retinopathy, and retinopathy check per year. So most of the preventive care for diabetes is done at primary care level. By the time we send the patient in my practice to cardiologist and anything, if the patient is not controlled on 4-drug regimen and has some coronary symptoms, definitely. So, I want to say it starts with us as primary care or any physician. It's simple test, diabetic. Number one, dietary changes. Fructose and all the corn syrups have been what made our diabetics in America. Because in America, people can buy 2,000 calories to 4,000 calories for $1. McDonald's provides a supersized meals where they can get a burger, a fries, and a large drink they can get for $1.50 or $2. At the same time, if they want to get some healthy vegetable alternatives, it's cost them about $5, $6. And we see the change right here. Whenever I come here, I see, and it's really amazing that how we're changing. And people from India who do come to America, do come to my practice, some of them, and when they see, and the concept of having a hemoglobin A1C, I just instill in them, and they say 10 and 12, they seem to be feeling that it's okay. And in our practice, now the way the insurance companies actually rate the physician is, if you have the percentage of patients having more than hemoglobin A1C 8 and above in your practice, you are dinged for that as a physician, that you're not providing good care. Okay, so this is all database that they can gather. So it is our responsibility as physicians to make sure whenever a diabetic patient comes in, 5 things. You gotta check them. Hemoglobin A1C below 8, no retinopathy. Retinopathy screen, if there is okay, every 2 years, otherwise every year. And then we need to send for coronary care, at least we do the screening, calcium scoring, and see how much their screening is. Plus urine microalbumin and see what it is. And then GFR levels. Are they were above 60 or not, or below 50? And then nephrology consult, then once it drops to GFR. So this is helping patients in the long run not to go into nephropathy, not to go into cardiology, not to go. So primary care level is the main thing, goal to prevent diabetic patients to get into and avoid the dialysis, avoid the costly transplants, avoid everything, and avoid their own patient well-being and the quality of life. And then someone else was asking about the circulation. So what we do is my nurse, every time when diabetic, every 3 months come, they do the check to see those are all simple tests.
Yeah,
doesn't cost as much, but that's where we are. So my mantra is primary preventive care.
Thank you for your inputs, useful. I think we'll move on for a shortage of time. Any takers on this? I will start with Dr. Sujit. How much is technology going to disrupt healthcare in the next decade?
Yeah, I think we are at a cutting, at a cusp, right now in terms of technology disruption, because we are getting connected devices are so common now. Like for example, blood pressure machines and blood pressure cuffs, glucometers, you name it. All of these are getting into digital space right now. So if we can tabulate this technology in such a form that all these results, like, when you talk about blood pressure, when you talk about diabetes, when you talk about hypercholesterolemia, body mass index, like a weight scale, if you can get on these connected devices and then, getting into artificial intelligence, driving that and, alerting the patients and all that, I think we are going to see huge, huge changes in the way that we deliver healthcare and hybrid care. Like, with the COVID, the onset, the way we were treating telemedicine in the past, has changed so dramatically. I never ever imagined, because I run a company that runs technology, like, health platform. And we were struggling to get, doctors adapt to a telemedicine portal. And COVID came. Until then, there were no guidelines. Like when we go to a doctor and say, you know what, get onto the platform, they will say, what are the rules? Right? So one of a parliamentarian who's going to be here later tonight asked me the same question. What is your government regulations? And then I go back and look at it. There is no government regulation about how you regulate telemedicine. COVID came, boom. You won't imagine what a 15-year couldn't do. In 1 week, there were guidelines about, and it has become legal right now to do virtual care. So that's amazing. So now, are we going to do predominant virtual care? Probably not. So hybrid care is where we are heading towards, and any system that can integrate these two things, virtual and real, into a nice format, I think is going to be coming up as a winner.
I think the two major things are connected systems where you can use the technology for improving healthcare and also improving education. I think that's also going to be a major issue. You want to provide education to patients. I mean, you want to improve their knowledge about diabetes, about complications. I think we need to use technology in that direction. I think we can't spend so much time on each patient in the clinic, and I think we need to use technology on that aspect. So I think those are the two major areas where technology can make a difference.
Next question is for you and Dr. Vasant Kumar. I want you to give a date when we can have oral insulins and when you can cure type 1 diabetes.
Well, I think oral insulin is not going to be soon, and because the cost is going to be huge. Cost is going to be 10 times the cost of insulin, because the absorption is just about 1% or so. So the cost is going to be huge, and that's not going to be not going to be an immediate solution. And I think what was the other one?
Cure for type 1 diabetes.
Cure for
whether it's gene therapy, islet cells.
Again, I think that's not in the near future. I think although we have hopes of beta cell you have stem cell therapy and other things are going will eventually come in, but I think it's going to be some time before that.
So you don't think it can happen in this decade?
Yeah.
No,
not in the near future. So I think we need to focus on the basic aspects and use technology for improving the
seeing the youth,
awareness of patients.
The student community's knowledge, just a session earlier, don't you think there will be?
I mean, we should be hopeful. We should be hopeful because technology can bring about a lot of change, and I think we should see how things shape up in the next few years, but not immediate future. Yeah.
Next few questions are all for Dr. Manisha because she's very, very passionate. If you can read out an answer.
Yeah, so just quick answers. Okay. So I'll not bore anyone. So just messages which I've already given. What percentage of diabetic patients develop nephropathy? I told you 40 to 50%. So any of you are diabetics, have you checked your creatinine, GFR? GFR app is there on your phone, free download. You have downloaded Prime Time, Amazon Prime, download the health app. And that is kidney app, GFR app. All of us, we are smart doctors. We have smartphones. We should be smart and we should have that app. So all of us, for yourself, for family and for patients. So 50%, 40 to 50% of all diabetics have nephropathy already and do not know about it. So please check your urine protein, check the patient's protein and GFR. That's it. GFR, not complicated, just app. Fill creatinine, age, and race. That's it. Sex, finish. That's it. Okay. What are the challenges in detection? Lack of awareness. Otherwise, creatinine is available everywhere. GFR app is in your hand, and urine protein is available everywhere. So challenges are from our mindset. And as Dr. Kiran Mai was saying, primary care. Madam also pointed out primary care. So primary care physician should be the co-treating person, and all GPs or physicians or any doctor in any specialty, please check for the complication. Which diabetic patients with kidney disease should be referred for kidney biopsy? So that's nothing. If they have rapid rising creatinine or blood in urine, refer them to a nephro. Challenges in treatment of diabetic nephropathy in India. The challenges are it's not diagnosed. And once it's diagnosed, what is the main treatment? There are main two drugs, apart from control of sugar, BP, the ACE inhibitors and ARBs. And in India, we use pediatric doses of those drugs. So telmisartan, for instance, is a commonly used drug. We use 40 mg. 80 mg is the dose for preventing nephropathy, not 40 mg. So minor adjustments are important. In April, we use 5 mg because we are worried about hyperkalemia. You need to use full dose of Inapril. So use the drug in proper dosage. And now we have SGLT2 inhibitors. So next to metformin, SGLT2 inhibitors, if used early, can prevent dialysis to a large extent. So for a patient, it's very important that you are able to prolong dialysis-free life. So SGLT2 inhibitors, they are expensive, but happy news is they are now available in government sector as well. So it's important to know about this. So is kidney transplant a good option for diabetic nephropathy? Yes. Diabetic nephropathy patients in India, we have everything available. India, we have diversity, very poor, very rich. So everything is available. India does not have dearth of technology or of scientific resources or of medical people. What is lacking is the coordination. So I think that's important. Transplant is available, but I told you, you should try to make the nephrologist go out of work by preventing diabetic nephropathy. So I think that's important. So only message from my side, diabetic kidney disease is not rare. You are all practicing physicians, whatever specialty you are in, you will see diabetic patients. Check urine, check creatinine. Do not forget. And start it from day one of diagnosis of diabetes. If any doubt, refer. So that's important. And I hope this message goes across. Thank you.
So briefly, what we have seen over the COVID period last couple of years, there has been a dramatic increase in the prevalence of diabetes. Leave alone that, the glycemic control completely gone out of order. All our patients came with blood sugars 200s, 300s, and HbA1c 10 plus 11 in double digits. So the question, and even we have seen some increased trend towards type 1 diabetes prevalence. Dr. Vasant Kumar, have you noticed any trend in increased prevalence of type 1, type 2 in the last year or so? How much of it is due to steroids?
COVID, Sham, type 2, it's a huge different scenarios we have seen. Because people for one year, non-diabetic, have never checked their blood glucose. They straight away ended in the hospital with COVID. High blood sugar, sometimes DKA. We never saw that kind of a DKA in type 2 diabetes in the last 2 decades. I have not seen. And second is, people who are non-diabetics also never checked their blood glucose for 1 year. They were detected to be diabetic de novo, along with COVID. So uncontrolled diabetes, de novo diabetes, and of course in the hospital, patients are given steroids. I mean, we never saw HbA1cs like 14, such blood sugars being 400 plus, ketones positive, all that we have seen. I mean, all the people here have treated those patients and some of them luckily survived. About type 1 diabetes, I am not aware that there is an increased incidence of type 1 diabetes. And another observation that I made is that it is strange and surprising that many of our type 1 diabetics, in spite of our minimal care, especially to those patients who belong to low socioeconomic, did not really develop any bigger issue. That was one thing very reassuring to me.
I think Dr. Vasant Kumar has very aptly told us about the changes in diabetes care that has happened in the last 1 year. I really don't know whether type 1 diabetes has increased, but I think again all over the world people have said that it's probably more because of people were not going for care for their symptoms and landing up in the ER with diabetic ketoacidosis more often than what was used to happen earlier. The other thing is that there's also this thought that the virus itself has I mean the receptors are there on the pancreatic beta cells also, whether that causes increase in that, but that's not clearly shown. I mean, we don't have data on that. So I think, but by and large, diabetes care has been affected worldwide. We have been seeing that there is a increase in the severity of manifestation. I mean, presentation with higher glucose levels. At least in India, we have seen that.
The life expectancy across the globe has gone down by 2-3 years, it appears. And I don't know how much of that is due to stress, mental health, sedentary lifestyle. What do you think, Sujit, between US and what is a mental health issue in the last COVID period?
So definitely, like, we being a cardiologist, we see a lot of diabetics, and we see that, COVID, getting admitted, 3 months later, you see them, their hemoglobin A1C is at least 2 above. And I don't think that's only because of the steroids that they got during COVID treatment. It's much more than that, like you mentioned, who knows, this probably the virus or the immune mechanism that's mounted for by the body that mounts it is probably hurting some of the pancreas too. Some research is coming up saying that, post-COVID pancreatic destruction is also happening. So we are seeing more of that, a lot of stress related because, anxiety, what's going to happen, job, lack of money, things like that. So a lot of mental health issues are coming up and different.
Elderly population, sir, Sudhakar garu, what is the impact of all this COVID on their diabetes care?
Usually, because of this COVID, there is a stress in the particular patient, one, and steroid contribution is also there to, especially families who have diabetes, and this patient doesn't have diabetes, it turns out to be diabetes after COVID. And because COVID has been a pandemic, definitely diabetes incidence has gone up, especially uncontrolled diabetes, 300, 400, as you have told already. 300 blood sugar, they are coming out of the hospital to us back for the treatment. New patients and even old patients, high blood sugar levels. This is a major contribution is stress only, and especially stress about that he will be going to die. That is the major stress for the patient. That is the reason they get into diabetes, and cure best is insulin only. Treatment best is insulin 6 hourly or BD or whatever it is. Insulin is the treatment of choice.
Thank you. Next lot of questions, I don't know whether these are just thought-provoking. How future is going to be for India and healthcare, because a huge section of our population are immigrating abroad. I was told by Sujit that 10% of doctor community in US, 30% of doctor community in UK, they all are from Indian heritage. So I think sooner or later, if anything global level has to happen, I think the fabric will include Indian blood in it. Like earlier Jewish were like that. Now I think Indian community, if anything on global platform has to happen. What do you think about that sort of futuristic role in terms of where we might see in the coming decade or so? What is the Indian contribution?
Yeah, so you see that General Motor cars, or for example, Apple is an American company and assembled in China and marketed in somewhere and all that. I don't think that will happen with healthcare because, there's definitely a lot of human touch needed in healthcare. So the call centers addressing the people sitting in Hyderabad, answering the questions of people in US, it's not going to happen in healthcare. I don't think the trans-border healthcare will be there's some percentage of tourism, medical tourism can happen, but I think we are running out of time.
I think, thank you. I think Sham, it's over now. I mean, let's start with some boosting ourselves. India can play a huge leadership role in the area of healthcare. Just to answer Sham's, India is leading in most of the things, and healthcare is no exception. We have indigenized our own guidelines. We have a pharma which produces most of the drugs at affordable price. We have high value, wise healthcare professionals in this country who can train the rest of the world. And we have seen it. Our own doctors going to US, staying there, and most of the people who stayed back here are looking after. And then we need to collaborate with each other. And India should take the leadership to train the rest of the world. That's what is our dream.
Rural health side, we have one question missed already, but I have to summarize. In Telangana government, I have started a program of screening of diabetes. About 30 years, by ASHA workers especially they screen the patient, and whoever has a diabetes history or no history, non-diabetic or diabetic, they go on doing every blood sugars. After that, they send whoever is diabetic, they send it to the primary center. And primary center, the medical officer is there who treats, tells about the comorbid conditions, complications, and this is area. Now the government is giving in 104, because rural side, medical side, there is a poor people are there. We are giving 104 glimepiride and metformin, and for hypertension, telmisartan. So later they are sent to any comorbid condition, district hospital. Thank you.
Thank you so much for all the panelists for joining today for discussions. Please stay on the stage actually.
I request...
Let's just a minute. We're expecting Dr. Anupama Gotimukla. She's coming? Yeah, I think so. Ravi is coming? Oh. We have Dr. Ravi Kohli. We have a few minutes. If you can, please don't mind staying. Please take seats. In the meanwhile, Dr. Ravi Kohli, President. Okay, he's here. Good. Please. Dr. Ravi Kohli is the President-elect of API, and would like to felicitate the speakers.
I request Dr. Ravi Kohli to hand over the mementos to the panelists. Yeah, please give the mementos. Dr. Rakesh Sahai. Sujit, please. Dr. Sujit. Dr. Vasant Kumar. Dr. Sham. Dr. Manisha Sahai. Dr. Sujit.
Can I request Mr. Gopi Krishna to come on stage, please? Java Ji from New Force Global Services India Private Limited. Yes, please.
Good evening, everyone.